Need a gavel. Hello.
Hey. Look over your shoulder.
Sorry, thanks, Mike. All right, let's call the meeting to order. Could we call the roll?
Chair Woodfin.
Here.
Mr. Hicks.
I'm here.
Mr. Fox.
Here.
Ms. Wilbur.
Here.
Mr. Tarbo.
Here.
Ms. Savage.
Here.
Ms. Rosenberger.
Here.
Councilor Todd.
Here.
Mr. Lafreniere.
Here.
Ms. Kondo Demitraki, not here yet. We do have a quorum.
Great. We'll open the meeting. First item on the agenda is the approval of the July minutes. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the July 15th and the July 22nd meeting minutes as written?
It should be the 21st. Typo on my
21st,
part.
okay, so 20 is going to...
I will make that motion with the correction.
With the correction on the 21st. We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? And if you weren't there for the 21st, I guess we can do it.
We can
That's
still
fine.
vote.
Yep, still vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries, so we will move on to an agenda overview, recognizing Dina Kondo Demitraki in as a member for the first item here. On our agenda, agenda overview for items, item 8A, Palm Street minor subdivision, has at the request of the applicant been moved to the September 16th meeting. So if you're here about item 8A, that item will not be heard tonight. Could we get a motion and a second to continue?
So moved.
Continue
Second.
to the 16th of September. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item 8B, excuse me, 8B, 110 Manchester Street is a major site plan, has been at the request of the applicant moved to the September 16th meeting. Could we get a motion and a second on that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. And item 8C, South Street major subdivision, at the request of the applicant, has been moved to the September 16th planning board meeting. Would someone like to make a motion to move that meeting, continue that meeting to the 16th of September?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. So just again, for the record, if you're here for the South End Development Project, that will not be heard tonight. It will be heard on the 16th of September. Moves us right on to design review applications by consent. Could we read, actually just 5A, 5A through D. Anything been pulled out? 5E?
Item 5E has been
Okay.
pulled at the request of the applicant.
Okay, so 5A through
D.
5D. So anybody in the audience has any questions, concerns about the applications, 5A, 5B, 5C, and 5D, if you could make yourself known. If not, any member of the board want to pull any of those from the consent agenda? If not, we'll take a motion to approve those items, 5A through 5D, with architectural design review comments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Item 5E, let's read that into the record.
We actually will do item 6. We're still in consent. That we'll do.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so item 6, extension request by consent. We've got an extension request for item 6A for 1 year to expire on July 17th, 2027. Would someone like to make a motion to approve an extension request
So
of
moved.
the conditional approval for?
This is
Item
for the
6A.
demolition for most of the Steeplegate Mall.
Right.
This is their second request and final for extension. Second.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We'll move back to 5E.
So 5E is Sinorama of Concord on behalf of Uncle Charlie's Eatery and TDL Investments LLC. Request architectural design review approval for a new 8.28 square foot internally illuminated freestanding tenant panel sign to replace an existing tenant panel, and a new 33 square foot internally illuminated building wall sign to replace an existing wall sign at 376 Loudon Road in the Gateway Performance District. And I will defer to Alec for a staff update.
All right.
Sure. This sign application went to architectural design review. They recommended approval as submitted. The applicant since reached out and they have a minor revision to make to the sign. So we requested, or we worked with them to come before you as a public hearing to show that revision and potentially grant architectural design review at this board meeting instead of them having to come back through the process.
Okay.
If you want to click start and without your data,
You got it. Thank you.
and you can remove the extension.
Perfect. Holy smokes, there we go. All right, Kendra from Sinorama, Concord. This customer had reached out to me on Monday to see if we could add the drive-through portion to the pylon. Still stays within the guidelines, just looking for add-on on text.
So ultimately, the difference here is the drive-through portion of the sign was not reviewed by ADR. Because of that, we pulled this from consent so that the planning board can consider whether or not the addition of the drive-through signage is okay per the.
Okay, thoughts from the board? Concerns? Questions?
Thoughts on this is not having the red bar, just having drive-through with the arrow without the red. Is that, I don't know if anyone, it's just up for discussion.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
Find the red distracting?
A little bit. It does it, when we saw it at ADR, very clean, I get it, why they would want to identify that they do have a drive-through. Just thought I'd bring the discussion to the table, that's
Yeah,
all.
absolutely.
Not,
Okay, and reasoning on the, any thoughts as far as the design itself goes?
Yes, of course. The existing one for Morning Dew Coffee also had a similar bar drive-through and an arrow portion. Actually, those are three separate pieces as well. So this one will be one cohesive piece. Wanted to incorporate the red and the leaf in it as well. Bring
Okay,
more-
so
bring
the
more
sign, just looking at the application, so the sign itself is going to be a little bit smaller. The sign before took up obviously a fairly good portion of the available space, so that tightens up with the red banner that goes across the bottom. The red's the same as the leaf as far as the color.
Correct.
I'm just wondering, again, if we put it in white, if we don't have any color around it, it's a little too under the eatery piece, then it just drives right into the drive-through underneath it. So it has to differentiate a little bit, would be my thought.
I don't mind it, and when I look at that sign, it's the only drive-through. So it seems to me it's okay to be in red with the yellow, because at least it says, I'm the only one here. Because otherwise, I think the white would just kind of, I'd have to read the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And for we older people, reading the whole thing is difficult. So,
When I
to
designed-
me, it jumps at me, which says, oh, I can go drive-through.
Right, yeah.
It's like when I was first going through all the revisions for this, I initially did just the drive-through and the arrow and the white with with no banner, and it kind of blended in with the logo a little bit too
It
much.
looks like to me it would.
How about white text? Would that work? Instead of drive-through yellow, white text on the drive-through
It would work.
with red?
It would work.
The yellow adds another color to it. I don't know if it takes away from it or not, but any other thoughts from the board? Eaton?
I'm familiar with this building, and I go there, Supercuts.
Supercuts, there you go. The shout out to Supercuts.
The drive-through doesn't jump out at you even when you're not on campus.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably well advised to make it pop on the sign so it gets utilized. I'm without opinion as to what color the text is. The sign's very busy as it is, but that drive-through doesn't jump out at you as something that you would know to do like you would at many
You may
other.
stop in because it's got a drive-through.
So I think it's probably a value add.
Okay. All right, any other thoughts? Member of the audience have any questions or concerns about this application? No? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you very much. So I'm inclined to approve it with the red banner down below. I'm indifferent on yellow or white, so I don't know. I think the yellow adds a little bit of a distraction to it, but Amanda?
I'd be okay I'd be more willing to say, go ahead as submitted, but change the color of the drive-through to white to match the Uncle Charlie's Eatery, so it just looks a little bit more cohesive.
Yeah,
That's my suggestion.
okay.
Is that a motion?
I'd make that motion.
I had Dina's hand too. Did you have a question, Dina?
I was going to say that I don't have a problem with the yellow or the red, but
Okay. I think we got a motion from Amanda.
As a point of order,
Yep.
was your motion to
Prove it as white.
suggest white or make the change from yellow to white as a condition of approval.
Condition.
Okay. Did that change the second? No? Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. You're all set?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Moves us on to
7A.
7A.
This is Yamas Greek Eatery on behalf of Yamas Greek Eatery and the Draft LLC requesting architectural design review approvals for a 16-foot externally illuminated existing non-permitted building wall sign and a new 1.77 square foot non-illuminated projecting sign at 25 South Main Street in the Central Business Performance District. And again, I will defer to Alec as he was at the ADR meeting.
Okay.
Sure. You have the ADR recommendations. There was quite a bit of comment and recommended conditions on the sign as it was proposed to architectural design review. At the same time, this application is non-conforming with zoning, and they were to appear before the zoning board of adjustment the night after they went to ADR, and they did not. They were continued at that zoning board of adjustment meeting. So staff would recommend, consistent with the planning board, is that we don't approve things that are known to be non-conforming with our zoning, and would recommend that you continue the application. We have contacted the owner of this property. I think that they're on board with these things, are aware, and I think they may have some design changes that we're trying to get in the queue. But for this point where it's non-conforming with zoning, we would recommend you continue it to September, and hopefully they attend the September zoning board and then are back before us for our September meeting.
Okay, so we do have a public hearing piece of it.
Yep.
Open public hearing. So open public hearing. Is the applicant here? No? Any questions from the board? Any member of the audience have any questions or concerns about this application? Not? We'll close the public hearing. Make a motion.
Make a motion to continue it
September
September
16th.
16th.
Second.
September 16th. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries and moves us on. What is next?
7B, this is Neopco Signs on behalf of Capital Vision Center and Red Eagle Management LLC requests architectural design review approvals for a new 36 square foot internally illuminated freestanding sign panel to replace an existing freestanding sign panel and two new internally illuminated building wall signs of 74.75 square feet and 49.78 square feet at 92 South Street in the Neighborhood Commercial District. This is the former Rite Aid space that is proposed to be the new Vision Center. And again, Alec was at ADR, so.
All right, Alec, hit us.
Sure. As you can see in your record of recommendation, the applicant came before ADR. ADR recommended approval as submitted with the condition that the pylon tenant panel sign have an opaque background be applied to the white, consistent with the design review guidelines, and especially whereas this property abuts a residential district boundary. At architectural design review, the applicant had requested proactively to be removed from consent and appear before you directly.
Perfect.
Good
Welcome,
evening.
welcome
Glenn
back to the
Shad,
table.
Signs. Alec, we have the wrong picture up here for,
Well, we can get around that.
okay.
Alex can fix anything.
That's not quite true, but we're going to pull up the architectural design review.
I clicked on it from my agenda, I got the right one.
Yeah, same.
It's this one, right?
Scroll down, it should be 7, yep,
Yeah, it works fine.
applications 22670, yep. That's the correct one.
There we go. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak in regards to this application. I'd like to address one specific issue that's come up during the design review process. That issue is their recommendation that the sign face be changed from translucent to opaque. My understanding is that an opaque sign face is expressly permitted in this zoning district. The application as submitted complies with the zoning requirements regarding the sign face. I certainly respect the architectural design review and its role in reviewing the appearance and designs of projects. I also understand that the board may have a preference for a particular aesthetic. However, I believe there is an important distinction between a design preference and a requirement contained in the zoning ordinance. In this particular zone, opaque backgrounds are not mentioned or required. The design guidelines from 1991 used by the ADR, Section 5.4C, state that when considering internally illuminated sign faces, it reads, I quote, "Internally lit signs should provide an opaque background with translucent letters." It specifically uses the word should be opaque, not the word shall be opaque. In legal drafting and interpretation, shall imposes a strict mandatory legal obligation equivalent to must, whereas should conveys a non-binding recommendation, advice, or personal design preference. During the ADR meeting, I expressed this particular business has an established logo used at all locations, all of which use a white background. Member Thorpe suggested that this business change the background color in their logo to a gray color to satisfy the board's preference. I do not feel the board has the authority to require business to alter an established logo or branding or require the business to use an opaque background. According to the zone that this business resides in, it's my understanding this ordinance allows a translucent white background. At this location in question, I'd like to mention that there is also an important issue of consistency with all the signs in this immediate area. Within 1 block of this location, there are 12 internally illuminated, non-opaque backgrounds that border a residential area. These signs include Tucker's Restaurant, Man Yi Restaurant, Concord Family Acupuncture, Milano Pizza, The Beverage Market, Milano Plaza, Santander Bank, and Citizens Bank. 10 of these signs specifically have a translucent white background. All of these signs contribute to the existing pattern of the internally illuminated, non-opaque signage in this area. I mention these existing signs not to suggest that another property should determine the standards for this application, but because they demonstrate that internally illuminated signs with non-opaque backgrounds are already an established part of this visual character of this immediate area. I recently had a conversation with the City Code Department. I asked if they had received any complaints about any internally illuminated signs in this 1 block area. I was told there have been 0 complaints or calls regarding any signs in this area, nor any calls from neighbors regarding the sign permit application. Given all this context, I respectfully ask the Planning Board to consider whether requiring an opaque face on this particular sign would be consistent with the treatment of similar signs in businesses in the surrounding area, as well as the legal stance of requiring an opaque background. Again, my understanding that the face proposed in my application is legally permitted under the applicable zoning provisions. If there is a specific ordinance provision or design standard that requires an opaque face in this particular situation, I would appreciate having that provision identified. If, on the other hand, an opaque face is simply a design preference, I respectfully ask that the application be evaluated based on the actual requirements of the ordinance and the established character of the surrounding area. My goal is not to disregard the design review process. I am not asking the Planning Board to disregard ADR, but rather to distinguish between a recommendation and a mandatory standard. My goal is to simply have the application evaluated fairly, consistently with the standards that govern it. For these reasons, I ask for your approval as proposed.
Okay, thank you very much for that thorough explanation.
I had so much in my head that I had to write it down because
So,
I didn't want to be here forever.
Just for the record, and anybody looking and the millions watching on TV, the application that you've presented here, picture number C or picture letter C, for the top part of this panel is what you want it to look like, correct? There's no, my understanding is there's no other application or there's no other tenant on the other spot underneath it. Could we dull that panel down below it in the interim so it's not just a stark white, bright light?
That certainly could be done. The intent is to have 2 or 3 tenants at.
And then whoever comes back may have
We
a
can
fully
peel it off
black
and-
background
correct.
with white, letters. So,
Correct.
and it is, I mean, I drive by it every day. I live right in the area, so I see the sign and have seen it for years. No bigger than the Rite Aid sign that's there now. It's the same
Existing
exact panel.
size, using the same frame.
Okay. Questions, concerns about this application from the board? And again, I am sensitive to changing logos and recognizing the fact that it's a beautiful logo and it looks nice in the building. I think the sign that you've done on the building itself is beautiful. I'm going to say, well, we got a public hearing, so I will ask if there's anybody in the audience has any questions or concerns about this. No? I guess you answered all of their questions.
Not in the audience, but we do have another comment from Alec.
Oh, yes, Alec.
No, I just wanted to follow up on some of the things that Glenn had stated. You know, so section 2896C of the zoning ordinance is the architectural design reviews standards for their recommendation. When they develop their recommendations, they shall utilize the criteria set forth in the design review guidelines. And you know, I agree that, you know, as Glenn stated, it clearly states should have white backgrounds, and I think that's important. It doesn't mean that is not enforceable. As I advise architectural design review, it is entirely within their purview to make a recommendation to apply opaque backgrounds per the design review guidelines. They don't have to. There are some situations where it may not be applicable, but it is I think it's important that, as my interpretation, that is within their right. It is not, it is procedurally sound. For you as the planning board, you have, when it comes to your approval and your standards for review, you have 7 criteria. One of which is the architectural design review recommendation, one of which is the design review guidelines, and then it's public testimony, you know, and other factors. But I just wanted to make that clear, that the statement that where it should be applied is an option. It's not something you can enforce. I just wanted to make it clear that that is not my interpretation.
It's a discretionary decision of the planning board based on those guidelines and recommendations from ADR, which have been consistently over several years, that when you have a white background, that it's an opaque background is the recommendation for light pollution purposes.
I think if I may, there's those of us that have been on the planning board that have requested and made a condition as new signs come up in areas where they were not originally opaque, we've requested for them to be opaque going forward, such as on Loudon Road, we had the CVS who recently changed their sign. We went back and forth, and I just think we should be consistent on if we're going to make, as a new tenant comes in, new signs are coming before us, we move forward consistently with opaque backgrounds and not give one yes and one no and as we go forward. So.
Okay. Okay. Any others? Yep, I did close it.
I'd like to respond to that,
sure.
if I could. First of all, we always try, my business and I always try to do the right thing. And I also understand what the design review board looks for, and I coach my people that I do business for in a manner that would be acceptable to the design review board. One thing that kind of irks me is across the street at the Capitol Farms, a company came in, another sign company, replaced all the sign faces in there. 3 or 4 months later, code caught up with it, and all they had to do was come in and go before the planning board and they get it approved. So me doing the right thing, I don't feel it's right that, you know, I could have done the same thing. I could have just put this up and I could have came in and backdoored it, but you know, I'm trying to do the right thing by following the board. And I also would mention that I believe the Architectural Design Review Board had a meeting with the city solicitor in which they were told that they could not limit content and colors. By asking the client to change the color in this particular instance would be wrong. And part of that explanation that the solicitor told the design review board that you cannot you know, limit the content and color.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Shadlick? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you very much for your testimony. Do we have any thoughts on which way we want to go? I like the sign as it is, but I understand the desire to inform and to put it into you know, to a consistent message that we give ADR. We turn that message around and then do it one off here and one off there. It's not the right message, and I get that. But by the same token, I want some artistic ability for people to be able to display the sign as they want to display it, provided it falls in the right guidelines on our side. So I don't know if I'm making myself clear on that, but yes, Matt?
I would just say, until the regulations are changed, it's really at the goodwill of the applicant if they abide by our recommendation to have an opaque background. Otherwise, we can't really force them to do it.
Well, we
Can
can.
do your
You
approval.
absolutely
You
can.
absolutely can do
Yeah,
your
you can.
approval, yes.
With our design review guidelines specifically say internally illuminated signs should have an opaque background. And how it's been relatively consistently applied is if you have a dark background with a lighter copy, that usually goes through, and it's been fairly consistent where when you have a white background with the dark copy in front, we have this conversation. And you would be absolutely, one of your criteria is applying the design guidelines and ADR recommendations.
Okay, thank you.
Dina?
Thank you. I was wondering if, I guess this would be a question for the applicant, I heard that there's a principal reason why they don't want to make the change, but is there a hardship that would be a reason
Okay, we can ask
they
that
would
question.
want to do that?
Okay. Did I see David? Did I see somebody else's hand?
Yeah, I guess, I think that we need to, or I need to think about the intent of the language that you are referencing, Alex, especially you. Are we ultimately going to follow a path that there will be at some point, after all, we change all these signs, everything's going to be opaque at some point. So we really have to leave it to the applicant to be somewhat sensitive to what our intentions are, not today, but down the road as a community. I agree with you also that the law permits this, and we can't stand in the way, I think.
To give you, I don't think, we're not asking
think-
for any color changes or logo changes here. The example I can think of with a white background sign that is very different at nighttime is the Duncan sign on Fisherville Road.
Yes.
If you look at that, it's a white background, but it's opaque except for right around the letters Duncan at night, so it doesn't project that bright light to the travelway and to the public.
Okay.
I just want clarification, please. So the design review guidelines say should.
Yep.
So my question is, if we want that to be always the case, why haven't we changed the guidelines and made it shall? Right. I mean, that to me, if I'm an applicant and it says should, and it says should but not shall, to me
I'm
there's
gonna
a
put-
major change, a major difference between should and shall.
I will put myself into Steve Henninger's shoes when he wrote this back in the 90s, that he wanted to be able to give the Architectural Design Review Committee the flexibility to apply it on a case-by-case basis, and those recommendations then get brought forth to the planning board for your ultimate decision.
So you want it, Steve wanted it on case by case, but as I'm hearing it now, the city's saying we want it always to be opaque, or so we still
The
case by
guideline is
case?
should, which is what the Architectural Design Review Committee considers when they look at every application. Speaking as a former ADR member, and I think Amanda can also, as the planning board's rep, that's kind of been the process, is that you look at the sign, if it makes sense for an opaque or a darker background, that recommendation gets made to the planning board. If it doesn't, then it doesn't.
So the ADR still has the flexibility
To say, you don't need it, yeah.
yeah, so, okay. All right, thank you.
But again, it's a
very
it's a
confusing.
decision that,
It's discretionary.
yeah, it's a discretionary decision. And again, look at, this one, is light and it doesn't have a lot of color to the logo itself, or a lot of density to the logo, but you've got others that are square logos that would take up the majority of that panel. And it doesn't really make sense to have an opaque background around that, so we want the flexibility to be able to say yay or nay. I don't think we want to give that up, but I'm not 100% sure. So we'll open the public hearing back up to recognize Glenn in just a second. Did you have a question?
No,
I think you heard the question about hardship, and I just want to get your feedback on that.
Thank you, that was a very good question. The hardship here is, when you have a white background with black letters, you cannot light black letters because the light will not pass through the lettering. So basically, the sign will be all opaque. So, and also part of their hardship is the fact that they have other locations All the other locations have a white background that is illuminated, but that doesn't really figure into this, but it's a white background with their blue and black lettering. So they want to keep it consistent because it's very important for branding to be all consistent. When I asked the Design Review Board to explain to me or give me a way that I could illuminate black lettering, I was told by Ms. Savage that I'm the sign guy, figure it out. So I have figured it out. It's impossible unless you want to spend and have the customer expend more money to put a film on the back of the sign, have a perforated vinyl on the front of the sign, which adds tremendous cost, and it's still not going to light up. It's going to be fuzzy. It's going to be worse than it is if it has a lit background. And one other thing to add is, not concerning the hardship, but we can also dim down the lighting in signs now because they have switches on all the LED. So I generally always do that. I tone it down, especially when it's a full white background.
All right, thank you again. Any further questions for Mr. Shadlick? Okay, we'll close the public hearing again. Yes, Brett?
Sorry, I know, I was just saying that, I just want to say, I appreciated the comments about toning it down. As we heard already, that is one of the concerns, is that the brightness would distract our drivers or affect their visibility while they're traveling the roadway. So I think that's an important consideration. And then also, you know, we don't really want to be in the business of changing someone's logo. So
Absolutely not.
That's the only other consideration I'd throw out there as we're making our decision. Thank you.
Absolutely. So again, part of the logo is the text. In this case, it's not the address and something like that. It's part of their logo, and that is a material step in this. So it's not that it's an address or a phone number or something like that. It's actually the business logo is the piece. Any other thoughts or questions before we let Mr. Shadlick go again? No? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you very much. All right. Amanda, you had thoughts on approval or denial. I'm willing to look at both sides of it. We can motion it up and down on one way or the other. Any other
Alec can correct me if I'm
Yep.
wrong, but the only issue the ADR had was the freestanding background. Other than that, they were okay with everything.
Yep. I'll just read it. Architectural Design Review's recommendation was that you approve the application as submitted with the condition that an opaque background be provided behind the white of the pylon panel sign pursuant to section 5.4C of the Design Review Guidelines, especially whereas this property abuts a residential district. That was the recommendation made by the Architectural Design Review Committee to you.
Okay. Any thoughts on a motion? Yeah.
Just a brief comment. You know, Mr. Shadlick is the messenger, right, the business.
Yep.
So he's in a difficult position. It's just disappointing that a business moving into, you know, a property abutting a residential neighborhood wouldn't try to do something different, but we can't control that. I lived in that neighborhood for 8 years, and the signs are bright. If you look out your bedroom window, they shine right in.
Yep.
I mean, we lived with it, we adjusted, but it's just not as pleasant as it could be. So it's too bad.
Eaton.
Making that motion all bundled together like that, I think is not what I think is appropriate, because we have a threshold issue of whether or not we're gonna have an opaque sign background or not. It sounds to me like, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but the application should get approved in one way or another. It's just a question whether or not we'll have an opaque sign or not. So does it make sense to bifurcate that motion and break it down to the first issue, then vote on the overall?
I would say if you wanted to separate out the issue of the illumination on sign C, that you move the approval as presented for signs A and B per the application that was presented per design review recommendations from ADR for those two signs.
But that just still bundles it all together on that same issue. Does it make sense?
Then it would be a separate discussion and a separate motion necessary for the illumination on the freestanding sign.
I have a question.
Yep.
You mentioned earlier about as the sign is vacant underneath for the one or two tenants, to not have that illuminated during the time in which it is vacant, let's just say vacant, so that it brings the light down, but also as he's noted that you can also dim the illumination down, so I think that it would give shine less, and if there is, I don't know how to
That's how to make a
how to
measurable,
make
enforceable
that an,
condition.
yes, exactly, because we've talked about illumination before at ADR and at planning board before. How do we make those determinations of what's acceptable? Because we've had other applicants come in front of us before, naming Delta Dental and talking about how do we monitor and/or enforce, illumination on signs, because there's been a discussion about it before. So how do you put that into, if we're trying to find a path that works for everybody, how do you put that into a motion?
Yeah. And enforce it.
And enforce it. So I think there's trying to be flexible on this as we're at a impasse without it holding up too much more of the meeting itself. I would make a recommendation to not illuminate the bottom of the sign and to somehow come to an agreement that it's dimming the upper sign, the one that does the Capitol Vision Center, to not be at full illumination. I don't know how to say that, so. So, I mean, is there a way to say that, if we could bring the applicant back up to identify the illumination that is in technical terms and not just my layman's terms?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I had a suggestion.
So if there's the problem is, if the bottom part of it is opaque and there's another tenant that has black letters, then the same issue is going to apply, right?
Yeah, unless you put in the condition about the illumination, and that's why I wanted to ask, how do you identify the illumination to not be 100% or full force, so.
So we'll open the public hearing again. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Mr. Shadlick.
The lamps in this particular sign go vertically. So the only way to make the bottom section not be bright would be to, as you suggested, Rich, to cover it with an opaque background. I did mention to the design review board that I was going to try and recommend that anybody that comes in, so that we can differentiate the tenants in there,
Put a
was
dark background.
to put a dark background on there. As far as the top sign is concerned, LED lamps now have 3 switches built into them, at least the ones that I use. The higher one and then the lower one. In lumens terms, unfortunately, there's no real way that you can measure the lumens that are coming out of the sign, but just guessing, in my experience and what I've seen, it's about a 40% drop in brightness.
From high to low or from high to medium?
From high to low.
Okay.
So you'll only
Significant.
getting 40% out of the 100% of the lamps.
Okay. And those are driven in the sign itself. It's not like the applicant can turn them on and off.
Correct. No, there switches right in there. And the other thing that can be done too is, what we used to do with fluorescent lamps, if they were too bright, is we would actually put black vinyl in some sections of the tube, so only a partial portion of that light would light up.
Okay. That answers the question on that, I think, right? All right, we'll let you go one more time. I promise we're not going to do it again. So we'll close the public hearing. Amanda, did I hear a motion in there to approve it with the condition that the bottom panel be made opaque and the light be dimmed down as much as possible
Yes, for sign C,
for sign C?
correct.
And it's worth noting that the signs on the building do have a gray background. Probably a little late to the game to mention that, but it does have a slightly gray background on the,
I don't think the intent was ever to change the color of the
Right.
background on the street sign out of sign C. It was just to,
Dim the illumination.
okay, so we got a motion. I'll second that motion. Any further discussion regarding that?
May
Yeah,
I
yes.
consider, just, I want to make sure I captured your motion, and then potentially an amendment, if you would accept it, is that you approve the application as submitted with the condition that the upper section of the pylon sign, sign C, be dimmed, and that an opaque background be provided on the lower sign until such time that future tenant panel signs are provided will either have a dark background with lighter copy, an opaque background be provided, or they too shall also be dimmed.
Right, well, just for the record, he mentioned, the applicant mentioned that they can dim the entire sign but can't separate the top to the bottom. So the entire sign will be dimmed with the opaque background, and then when the second sign gets put in, hopefully next month, or soon after, then that will also be dimmed at the same level.
Potentially.
Right.
The intent of the potential amendment was just to provide the 3 different installation options
Yep.
where they may or may not be subject to architectural design review.
Correct.
And I didn't want any hang-ups
Okay.
for any, or the bottom panel now needs to have an opaque background,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah,
going to be,
this is
that would
just
be
the
an
top.
issue.
Yep,
That was the intent. Maybe I didn't hit it.
okay. Doesn't change the motion from my perspective. Okay.
Just have one quick
Yes,
question, though.
Todd.
Do we think it would be helpful to, it was discussed that there are 3 settings, so high, medium, low. Do we want to specify to the lowest possible setting?
I don't know that we do.
Okay.
I think we want to give the applicant the ability to say, dim it as much as you can and still do your job and still have the applicant, the customer be happy with the solution that he presents to him as opposed to a dull sign. So I'd rather leave the motion as we said it, which was dim the sign as much as possible.
Okay, yep.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Are we going with Amanda's motion?
Yes.
Or the amend?
Amended motion.
Amended motion with your-
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shadlick, for your testimony and diligence. We're going to have you come back for every one of them. Okay, let's move on. Again, I just, for the record, we've seen a couple people pop in the meeting here after we started and made a couple of announcements. If you're here for 8A, which is next up on the agenda, the Palm Street subdivision has been moved at the applicant's request to the September 16th meeting. The item 8B, which is 110 Manchester Street, has been moved to the 16th of September as well at the applicant's request. And the South End development, item 8C, has also been moved to the September meeting. So if you're here for any of those will not be heard tonight, but you're welcome to stay and listen to the riveting meeting as we move forward. So let's read item 8B into the record if we could.
8D is Kimball Jenkins Incorporated and request conditional use permit approval pursuant to section 28-6-9B2 and section 28-6-7I of the zoning ordinance to allow for a building wall sign to be located between rows of windows in a building that is more than 3 stories in height, above the sills of the first level windows above the first story, or placed more than 25 feet above grade at tax map 641Z, lot 19, addressed as 264 North Main Street in the neighborhood residential district. And I'll roll into my staff update. This application is for a conditional use permit for the proposed Kimball Jenkins signage on the south wall of the yellow building closest to I-393, excuse me. Due to the grades in the area, Kimball Jenkins is requesting the sign be placed at a height above the sills of the first floor windows. The Heritage Commission has already granted a certificate of approval for this signage, as it is located within the city's historic district. City staff recommends acceptance of the application as complete, and then following the public hearing, we recommend conditional approval of the CUP per the recommendation of the staff memo.
Okay, so staff has determined the application complete, not a development of regional impact. Would someone like to make a motion to find the application complete and open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made, roundly seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. We'll open the public hearing. Do we need a staff update on this, or?
I just gave it, so.
You just gave it, so we're good with that. Welcome to the table. If you could state your name for the record.
Good evening, Chris Netto from Novus Group.
You're becoming a regular, Mr. Netto. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Yeah, all right. This isn't an opaque background sign, is it?
This is not illuminated.
Just wanted to set the record straight here to get us off on the right foot. All right, tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so basically the idea with the sign is that you really can't see the estate and the art school from when you're approaching from the south and along 393. So this is really just sort of for people to be able to see where the campus is and so they can make their decision at that very busy intersection to come down the right driveway to get to the estate. A sign on the front of the building would not be useful for that case, so that's why it's mostly about visibility.
So, for the record, is it set at the level of the lintels on the second floor? I'm just trying to.
No, I'm sorry, that's been updated to, hold on a second, I pulled up the wrong plan. Oops.
Go back. You should be back at the agenda. One more page.
Supplemental? No. Is there no updated?
Yeah, no, the plan set that I've got shows it the second, right at the top of the windows on the second floor.
Yeah, I have an updated picture here of it being lowered as
okay.
recommended by the Heritage.
Can we just shoot that around the table?
I have it, I'll go plug in.
It looks narrower, too.
Yeah, if we could just,
We get it,
yeah,
we
we'll
got
get
it.
the
We're
paper
gonna show-
copy.
Is it still 3.1 feet by 11.8?
Yeah, still the
I
same
think it is.
size.
The only thing the board really needs to concern themselves with this conditional use permit is the fact that it's above the sills in the first floor.
right.
That's the only piece that requires planning board approval. Otherwise, this is otherwise compliant.
All right, let's just
Okay.
move it.
So let the picture get around here, and we'll be good to go. Anything else on it, Mr. Nair?
Nothing further.
Okay.
Just have a quick, while we're waiting.
Yes, Councilor Todd.
Thank you. I think I'm actually fine with either placement, the original or the second one, frankly. Because I think either one of those would allow Kimball Jenkins to also, for certain events and other things, use part of that building to put up a temporary banner or something else. I mean, I'd want to make sure that it wouldn't be like right in the middle, and you wouldn't be able to utilize the rest of the space on the building for those kinds of needs. So, but it seems to me like either one of these would be fine.
Is there any thoughts on centering it on the window height? Just out of curiosity, it looks a little odd that's down below the,
I think the recommendation was.
That was the Heritage Commission.
Yeah, the
Heritage
Heritage
Commission?
Commission's
Right.
recommendation.
well, let's leave it as it sits then. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Any member of the audience have any questions regarding this application? No? Staff, anything? Okay, if not, I'll make a recommendation to approve it as submitted with the revised image that we're looking at here as far as placement.
That's item 9.2 with conditions 9.2A1
Oh,
and
shoot,
2
yeah,
and
sorry.
9.2B.
I'm sorry. So just what, so we need, again, stepping out of my comfort zone there on that, sorry for that. Okay, so as Tim mentioned, and again, using as our findings of fact, we'll use the information that we've got in our packets as well as the image that we got here. So in your packet, we've got a conditional use permit 6, are we 6?
This whole thing is just a conditional use
Yes,
permit.
conditional use permit. Someone like to make a motion to approve that conditional use permit as submitted?
So moved.
Again, with the new
Second.
image.
And subject to the
Yep, the
conditions.
conditions as outlined.
Subject to conditions as outlined, right. So we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. You are all set with that one. Thank you. To put that in the record, I don't know. Okay, what's next?
Item 8E is Novus Group, on behalf of the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forest, request approval for an amendment to a previously approved 1999 large-scale development plan for the installation of a 102-kilowatt ground-mounted solar photovoltaic array as an accessory use to the existing conservation center and associated site improvements at tax map 482Z Lot 14, addressed as 52 to 54 Portsmouth Street in the open space residential district. This application would amend the board's 1999 approval for the Society of Protection New Hampshire Forest site, which would allow for the installation of this ground-mounted solar and a minor relocation of some of the required parking, which results in a very small increase in the amount of impervious surface of the site. City staff is recommending conditional approval of the amended site plan per the recommendations in the staff memo.
Okay, welcome to the table. If you could state your name for the record.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Morgan Dunson with Novus Group.
Great.
So, let's see. I'll do a little overview of their site for us. Let's see. So here's the existing site. It's kind of hard to tell, but the entry comes off the paved drive from Portsmouth Street. Well, first of all, this is the Society of Protection of New Hampshire Forest Conservation Center located at 54 Portsmouth Street. And we are proposing to install solar panel arrays for the HVAC system upgrades to the existing buildings to provide renewable energy on site. So, I'll go back to the existing site plan. So there is, the existing conservation building is down to the south right here, and the existing parking lot area, which is our project area, is located right in this location, which consists of an existing gravel parking lot, some timber curbing, and just vegetation. And we're proposing to install the solar arrays in the northern portion of the parking lot area, and in doing so, we will need to reconfigure the parking lot areas. When refiguring the parking lot, we are going to have them be up to today's standards. So the new parking drive aisles will be 24 feet wide, and parking spaces also. So there's 6 relocating, there's 4 here, I think, and we're squaring off this little area right in this section. The impervious increase from this project is 295 square feet. That does not include the solar panels themselves. Those are considered pervious, as they don't cover the ground. So water will just trickle down and sheet flow off as it does naturally. There is a limit of tree clearing on the site. Over on the eastern portion, we have a tree clearing, which will just be cutting down trees to the stumps, and no earthwork is proposed on this side. The only earthwork will be within the panels themselves to install the foundations for the arrays themselves. There is some utilities within the footprint of the arrays. So there is an existing water line that crosses right here, and then an existing drain line that crosses on this corner. Within those 2 areas, we're proposing to do a geoballast foundations. Those you normally see on landfills typically. So they are on the surface in the little baskets with rocks. All other foundations will just be the normal pier foundation. And the new electric line will be from the existing building up to the site. We are also requesting a waiver from site plan regs to allow the continuation of timber curbs within the parking lot. That's it.
Okay. Is this going to net meter anything out into the grid, or is it all going to be used internally?
All internally.
So the line that's coming down through, that goes down through the center, is new. So you're going to be digging up the existing, it's gravel, right?
Yep.
Those parking's gravel. All right.
Yep, it's gravel.
Okay.
Zoom in a bit more.
Questions from the board? Dina, you got to be happy. Dina is our solar.
Oh,
She
you love
pitches
solar?
it every single time anybody comes in, so she's loving this plan altogether. And it's nice that it's not taking down a lot of trees from the looks of it as well.
It is nice.
Questions from the board?
I was kind of curious, just following your question, so you're saying the line will be underground? It's not going to be above?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And then, sorry, second part.
Yep.
You said tree cutting. I'm looking at the image in the supplemental number 13 of 13, and it just doesn't look like as much space there. And I'm wondering if there would be more tree cutting to the northern. On there, it seems like there's more space than I'm seeing here. So is
The
it-
tree clearing will be within this internal landscape area. Let's see, if the existing,
already
here we go.
cleared? Or
This might show it better on the demo plan.
higher up, so they will have to.
Yeah,
cut-
they'll cut those trees.
they'll have
Yeah.
to cut those trees back there. Okay. That's for the point.
The Society of Protection of New Hampshire Forests cutting down trees, huh?
cut down trees, I know, it's a little ironic, but.
For renewable
to gain the-
energy.
To gain the solar gain. And the panels be pointing towards the building as we're looking at, the panels be pointed
Correct.
towards us. You can't see it from Portsmouth Street.
No, we are very far from Portsmouth Street. It's off the page. There's a long drive
No,
that
I'm
goes
just
up.
asking for the record.
Yep.
Okay, other questions from the board? No? Any member of the audience have any questions or concerns about this application? No? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
So in our staff report here, we have got 9.2, 9.1, again, using the findings of fact that we have heard, the information that we've heard here tonight, the information that's in your packet and the submission materials that the applicant provided. We'll use those as our findings of fact to make the decisions, and first up on decisions is 9.2, to grant the waiver request below for the listed sections of the site plan regulations based on evidence provided showing that criteria 674, RSA 674, 44, 3E and section 3608 of the site plan regulations are met, and that is outlined in section 18.1 for curbing and guardrails. Would someone like to make a motion to grant the waiver request as outlined?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. 9.3 is to grant the amendment to the approved plan for the proposed ground-mounted solar photovoltaic array, relocated parking, and associated site improvements at tax map 482Z, lot 14, addressed as 52 to 54 Portsmouth Street, subject to the following precedent and subsequent conditions, and those are outlined.
9(3)A 1 through 3, and then 9(3)B 1 through 3.
All right, would someone like to make a motion to
motion.
grant the amendment as outlined?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. You're all set. That's it for Nobis Group tonight, right? Oh, no, okay. Move on to item 8F on the agenda, if we could.
So Nobis Group, on behalf of Dartmouth Hitchcock Clinic, requests approval for a major site plan application for a 40,050 square foot addition to the existing Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center, including expansion of the parking lot and upgrades to utilities and drainage infrastructure and other site improvements at tax map 734Z lot 22, addressed as 251 Pleasant Street in the institutional district. As part of the major site plan, the applicant also requests conditional use permit approval to pursuant to section 2841F3 of the zoning ordinance to allow pertinent structures or structures not intended for human occupancy to exceed the maximum height restrictions of section 2841H of the dimensional regulations of the zoning ordinance. Quick update, as was brought before you last month, this is a proposal to construct an approximately 41,000 square foot addition to the existing Dartmouth Hitchcock Center at 251 and 253 Pleasant Street, including the expanded parking lot, utility and drainage upgrades, associated site improvements, but no change to the existing medical use. The applicant previously obtained multiple ZBA variances to address the existing parking and landscaping nonconformities. They've also submitted the accompanying conditional use permit application to accompany the major site plan for the mechanical equipment and associated screening on the top of the building and exceedance of the height restrictions. The project is now also proposed to be phased to allow for the temporary relocation of the portable MRI unit to be utilized while the full building expansion is being constructed. The staff report is recommending continuance of the application to September, primarily to address traffic study concerns raised by staff and the peer review consultant. There was a meeting that took place on the 18th, yesterday, between the applicant's team and the city staff. Based on that discussions, it appears there may be a way to resolve these issues post-conditional approval. When we get into the public hearing, I'll ask Alec and other staff to discuss how that has gone and taken place. If the board is comfortable with the outstanding traffic study items being addressed as precedent conditions of approval, then we'd recommend conditional approval of the ADR, CUP, and site plan per the recommended items in the staff memo, with any modifications deemed necessary as we discussed through the public hearing process tonight.
Great, so staff, so we have determined the application complete and
Yes,
open public
previously,
hearing on
yes.
July 15th. We do have determined the CUP complete, not a development of regional impact.
Correct.
To do that tonight.
Yes.
So we will, staff has found the CUP complete, not a development of regional impact. Would someone like to make a motion to do what?
Find that complete.
Find it complete.
So moved. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries, so we will reopen the public hearing. We'll welcome back to the table. If Could state your names for the record?
Thank you. Chris Neto with Novus Group.
And I'm John Adams with Barton and Letudis.
So,
Okay.
3 updates from, we're here in July, and 3 things that we just wanted to update you on tonight. First is, we submitted a phasing plan to be as part of the approval, site plan approval. Yellow here is what will be constructed during phase 1. That includes the parking lot up in the triangle piece up here, and relocation of the mobile imaging unit from what's currently within the new building footprint. We need to get that out of the way so they can get ready to build the new addition. So that's this area over here. That's just a temporary setup for the mobile unit. And then an area down here to construct the stormwater that's necessary for the parking lot. So that's the phasing plan. The second update is with regard to the conditional use permit, and that is the architectural elevations. That's basically to allow the screening height to be higher than the 45-foot maximum height of the building. So that's allowed under a conditional use permit. So you can see here the screening that will be on top of the building to screen the mechanical equipment. This gives a little bit better view. You can't really see it from Langley Parkway because it's up quite high. You can just barely see the top of it here. Just the sort of southeast elevation, you can't really see it. And here's kind of further away coming up Langley Parkway as you're down lower. You can just see it up here. And then can't see anything for Pleasant Street because it's lower than the existing building. And then the third change, Tim mentioned, was the traffic study. We submitted that on July 15th. The city's peer review engineer provided comments last Friday, which we met with staff on Tuesday to discuss. And I'll let John talk briefly about the results of that meeting on Tuesday.
Sure, thanks. I'll be brief, but I'll certainly can get into more detail on anything you'd like. So there were 9 comments that the peer review in the city had. We had a real positive meeting, I thought, yesterday. I think about 7 of those comments were pretty straightforward. There was 1 or 2 that we had some discussions on, but I think based on how the meeting went, how the discussions went, I think we've got some direction on those. That's going to be confirmed as we are working on our written responses. That will be submitted on Friday, and then that will, that'll give staff and the peer reviewers an opportunity to confirm, I think, what we talked about at the meeting. So we're not anticipating that in the end the project will require any significant offsite improvements. So that's where we are at this point.
So as we asked last meeting, we asked the board to consider a conditional approval tonight so that we can keep on our schedule of trying to get this phase 1 parking lot and the mobile imaging unit moved this fall so we can start construction. And we don't have to wait until spring to start construction.
Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Councilor Todd.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to ask Mr. Neto if he'd had an opportunity. We did get some public testimony on this. It was specifically regarding lighting, an email that was received, I think, on July 27th. Did you have an opportunity to read that email?
I have not seen that, no.
Well, there's asked several questions, so I was wondering if it would be all right if I could
Please do. Put them in the record.
questions that were asked, and then maybe you could speak to these concerns, and there may be more members of the public out there that have these same kinds of questions. So one of the questions was, what is the purpose of the exterior lighting, and how much light or lumens are required to achieve that end? And then sort of what guidelines are you utilizing to, if you go to the rear end public comment, the last item on there, that's it. And then you could, that's right. Now scroll down a little bit, and there you are. Those are all the questions, so actually I don't have to really read them, but you can read them yourself there. So the one I just read were the first 2.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, so exterior lighting is obviously to allow the patrons and staff to safely enter and exit the building during evening hours and early morning hours, particularly during the winter and when daylight savings time. The lighting is actually pretty specific in the zoning ordinance that we're required to provide cutoff fixtures, and we're not allowed to spill light over the property line more than a certain amount, so we've complied with that. So it's the city's guidelines that we're following. Not sure I can answer the question about warm color temperature light sources. These are standard LED light fixtures that we use all over the city, so they're pretty common. Unintended places the light will end up, again, we're required under the zoning ordinance not to spill light over the property line a certain amount, so we've provided a photometric plan to the city that complies with that requirement. Can the plan be modified so that zero direct light extends beyond the Langley Parkway sidewalk? Again, I believe that the photometric plan shows that's in compliance with that requirement. And can the lights be dimmed or turned off outside of business hours? I'd have to ask that question.
Yes.
Yes, they can.
Yeah, we do that at a number of our properties.
And then can the exterior lights be motion activated? Do you have that at other facilities, or? Usually the motion activated is that they'll kick up a notch and they'll go brighter when they're motion activated, but there's a certain low level that is required for safety and public safety. You don't want people that aren't supposed to be there in the parking lot at night, so the police want to be able to see.
Security issue as well as an illumination is safe.
Yeah, security more than anything, I think, and public safety for people just walking through.
Yeah, thank you. So that's good. I appreciate you covering all those. I think there was one that, can you commit to using fixtures placed low to the ground and with shrouds to limit the light escaping? But I think that again, you spoke to that, there's a requirement that you're following that covers that, right?
Yep, under the zoning ordinance, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think just for the record, the full cutoff lighting and the spillage over into abutting areas and have a hard cutoff at a certain point is not in your purview. If you're putting those in at a certain point and they're the right, they're faced in the right direction and they're full cutoff lights, there's going to be some spillage. It's just a matter of what the percentage is.
That's right. Yep.
You're not going to have anything that's going to, no light's going to fall over this magical guideline. So
Right, you are
just for
allowed
the
a,
record.
you are allowed a.
0.2 foot candles open.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Alec did have a comment.
Yes, Alec.
Just, and as I interpret the public comment, I think some of the comments may be directed to the site as a whole, and whereas the illumination plan and a lot of the work is within the scope of this project, which doesn't have a lot to do with the existing parking lot on the Langley Parkway side. And so like everything proposed is, we've determined either it's conforming or we have a condition to make it conforming for within the scope of this project. I have not conducted an analysis, and it doesn't appear as the applicant has on any of the existing outside of the scope of work, which may be the source of some of these comments.
Okay, other questions from the board? Paige?
I might be missing it, but I'm not seeing the lighting plan anywhere in the package.
On the civil plan set, it's PDF 33 of 35.
It's coming up a little slow here, but here's the photometric plan, and that's the area.
I see 31 to 35. I don't see 34 or 30.
Next page up. Other way. One more. There you go.
Right there.
That just shows where the light fixtures are, and then this is the photometric plan that shows the intensity of the light from the new lights that are
The
going
new
in.
proposed lighting. Yeah.
So there's no lighting on the
On the Langley Parkway
Langley
side,
Parkway
there's
side at all.
none.
No new
further-
lighting.
I know, right, yeah.
Yeah, yep,
And even up on the Pleasant Street side, it's in the islands, right?
that's right. There are a couple of lights on the north side
So that's not a
along
problem.
Pleasant Street.
Okay. Other questions, comments? So obviously, the staff's recommendation, we usually follow staff's recommendation and
Right.
and want to recognize that, if they're recommending a continuance and saying they're not comfortable with it, I want to get some feedback from you on the traffic study, not comfortable, but that's the wrong word, but they're recommending continuance.
The staff memo was prepared prior to the meeting.
Prior to the
on
meeting,
Tuesday,
so-
I'll defer to Alec because
Okay.
he wasn't attending, and so was Pete.
Right, so we had a third-party peer review do the analysis, and it only came in a few days ago, granted. There were a number of issues brought up, primarily it had to do with missing information or information that was done a little bit different than traditionally done. We had a meeting yesterday, I thought it was productive. I think you guys have some work to do. I know you plan on resubmitting to Friday.
Friday, yes.
That's an aggressive schedule, but maybe you can do it. Essentially, what we were trying to do was not push ahead without knowing that there might be some kind of additional traffic work that might be warranted, extra turning lane or adjustments to the traffic light. So before the meeting yesterday and even now, we're not sure if we have the information to make that determination. So that's why we were looking to slow things down a little bit. I know you guys have a very aggressive schedule, but we also have to protect the city's interests as well.
It's difficult as staff to make a recommendation for a conditional approval without knowing particularly what potential off-site improvements may be required. And that's ultimately the bottom line reason for the continuance recommendation that staff has made to you.
And that was the initial, based on a conversation, I think we have a little bit better level of comfort that if any off-site improvements are necessary, they may be minor. And then also one of our recommended conditions of approval is that if you move forward with a conditional approval, we'd recommend that they satisfy all of the third-party peer review comments. And if any off-site improvements are required that would be considered as a major change, they will be required to come back before the board. And we're a little bit more comfortable after our meeting with navigating that way.
Yep.
And we're not anticipating that it will be necessary, but we have that clause, just in case, once we resolve it.
So there's a comfort level if we do approve it, and give them.
If there is anything significant
If
that
there's
comes
anything
up,
significant,
it's gonna have to come back.
They come back.
Yep.
And that's not even them saying, yes, we agree to come back, it's us saying you will come back.
You will come back if there's a significant change.
Okay, we understanding that? Yes, Amanda?
Is the applicant comfortable with those conditions, if granted?
Yeah, absolutely. We're very comfortable. We've done the analysis. We're comfortable. We understand what, if any off-site improvements would need to be done, and we're confident we can work through that with staff.
You're gonna build it either way, right?
Absolutely. I mean, Dartmouth has been here for a long time.
Yeah.
They're a well-regarded property owner in the city, provide great service to the city, so they're not going anywhere.
And you really wanna have foundation in for this year?
We want to have the parking moved and the MRI moved so that they can start the foundations.
We're trying to split the needle here.
Yeah,
because it's not something we would typically want to do, but we're trying to find a way to.
Yeah, I agree.
To find a reasonable compromise approach to
We
this.
don't wanna be in a holdup here, it's an important piece of the puzzle here, and we understand that, but we wanna make sure we're doing it right as well.
Understood.
Other questions from the board? No? Yeah.
I just want to understand the concern. Is the concern that with this additional parking, it's going to overwhelm the turning areas or maybe require a two-lane or some sort of change?
Some off-site improvement, not internally to the lot, but what's gonna
But that
happen
would-
out on Langley or Pleasant?
Be based on the additional parking put in the triangular area?
It's the additional square footage and the additional use that increased traffic generation that results from the larger building.
So you get a public safety piece of this as well. You got ambulance traffic that's coming up Langley Parkway, a certain amount of high-tension traffic that's coming through that space. So if the city is being specific in its outlook and saying, we want to make sure this is perfect, we want to make sure we don't put too much traffic coming out of Langley, out of this property to hang up.
Particularly when you look at the physical constraints constraints of Langley Parkway with the grading at the intersection with Pleasant Street. There's a large retaining wall there. There's not a lot of opportunities to properly design an intersection given the grading that's out there today. So we want to make sure that whatever results of the traffic study are, that we have the appropriate offsite improvements to take care of those.
And again, I think the, staff's identified it, looked at it, slowed things down. But again, if the applicant's looking at it and saying we'll work with you to figure out the end result, I don't know, that we want to slow it down too much. So.
To what end of my own personal observations relevant to that concern?
100%. Feel free to voice
I
it.
live a couple miles from there and use both roads that they've identified multiple times every day.
Yeah.
I've never seen any backup in traffic there. It flows very easily in and out of there.
100%. I agree with you.
So I'd be very surprised if that additional parking had
You're
any
not going to see
observable impact.
500 new cars coming in there and overwhelming a lot.
Well,
But
if it was
again,
500, that'd be a different.
but yeah, I know, but let's say you're not going to see that. But again, we think that.
Let's
but
make
we
sure
need
the
to make
traffic
sure
study
the traffic
is-
study
yeah.
bears that out, and the peer review looks at it and says, this is what it is, and the applicant provides the
So the
information.
traffic study objectifies my subjective
Right.
observations.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions?
Any other comments? No?
Any members of the audience have any questions or concerns about this application? Yes. Oh, hang on just a sec. We'll have you come on up and get in front. Oh, yeah, sorry. We got to do it the right way. I apologize. But you're just talking to us. We turned the TV off so nobody can see you.
Make sure you sign in.
You got to have you sign in too after you speak.
I
but-
did put my name.
Oh, you
on
did
it,
already.
yeah.
Good. Thank you.
So I'm
If you
here
could just state your name for the record.
Cynthia Trombley.
Okay,
And
Cynthia.
I'm here to represent Pleasant View Retirement and Pleasant View Center.
Okay.
And they're wondering how that will affect the whole building or whatever it is would affect them.
Okay.
If they were given, notice on this.
Sure, as in a butter.
Yeah.
So affect them in the sense of loud noise in the middle of the night, extra light, whatever, that type of thing. And we'll ask the applicant, but that's what they're concerned about, you're concerned about.
Correct.
Okay, we'll ask that question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other audience member have any questions or concerns? I don't think there probably is, but we'll ask. Nope, come back up, guys. So again, in these types of scenarios, anything like this, if it's a 7-Eleven, it's what time you're going to be loading, what time you're going to be picking up dump, what time are you going to be plowing the lots. The woman asked a question regarding, you heard her, regarding impact to the neighbors. I don't know that there will be any, but I'll let you
Right,
hit
yeah.
that.
So Pleasant View's off to the right, to the
Yep.
east. It's actually separated by a property that's, I think it's an apartment building, so
Yep.
it's two properties over.
Yep.
So from perspective of the addition itself, we talked about lighting. There shouldn't be any impact on lighting.
Yep.
Traffic, that's dealt with the traffic study. There certainly will be an increase in traffic, but the traffic study will show that if there are any impacts, we're going to deal with those with off-site improvements if necessary. Stormwater wouldn't be an issue. Everything flows to the south. And I'll ask Tim if he could speak to deliveries and plowing and that sort of thing, and maybe hours of operation.
Tim Bishop, Dartmouth Hitchcock Clinics, Director of Engineering. For after hours, there really isn't really much going on. We switch out our MRI trailers after hours, but it's not loud or disruptive or anything like that. And then we have cleaners in there at night.
Okay, so you're not open after hours, no helipad on the roof?
No.
Okay.
If I read this correctly, the work being done closest to the person who's concerned would be the addition of the parking lot and the expansion of the parking lot.
Yep.
Yes.
My question is, after the construction, after this work is done, no change in conditions like operations?
No.
Right.
No. The only thing I could think of would maybe snow removal operations.
Okay. Okay. So what you hear now and what you see now is pretty much what you're going to get. Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Tim. Thank you very much. Other questions from the board? No? Okay, thank you guys for your testimony. Looking at the staff report again, let me get to where I need to be here. And, oof,
we have the consensus from the board to move forward or continue? That was my first question.
That's going to be my first question as well. Okay, so you heard the applicant information, the kind of the consensus on do we push it off? Do we hear it tonight? I'm going to say I'm comfortable pushing it or I'm comfortable approving it with the understanding that staff and the applicant can work together on any of the outstanding traffic issues that need to be made.
And anything significant would be required to come back to the board.
And anything significant would need to come back to the board. But I'm comfortable with that. And again, a little bit outside the norm, and we try to be as consistent across applications as we can, but in this case, I think it's warranted, and I'm comfortable making that motion or not even a motion, just making the recommendation that we allow this to move forward with that understanding.
I agree.
We good?
Yep.
All right, so that would move
All right,
us
so
to
that-
the if the board disagrees part of my.
If the board disagrees. So again, using as our findings of fact, the information that we heard here tonight, the applicant's testimony, the materials that you see in your packet, as well as the public testimony that we heard. So we'll move to, if the
Waivers.
board disagrees. So we've got waivers, items 9.3 and 9.4, right?
So
we'll handle those.
9.3A through J, staff is supportive, and then for 9.4A, we recommend denial, and that's the traffic study stuff that's being worked on.
So give it to me again, 9A.
9.3A through J.
A through J, would someone like to make a motion to approve those waivers as outlined? Is that correct?
Yes.
Support those? Yes. So approve those waivers, and then again, that's A through J on 9.3. Would someone like to make that motion? I'll make that motion.
Second.
The second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries, and I'll make a motion to deny item 9.4, the traffic study. Staff supports the denial of the waiver based on, again, on criteria 674.
Did not meet the statutory
So
and
it didn't meet
regulatory.
the statutory regulatory. So I'll make that motion that 9.4 is denied.
Second.
We got a second?
Just ask a question, just
Yes.
for clarification. So they submitted a traffic study, but you think it's not sufficient?
No.
They asked for a reduced traffic study through this waiver. We are getting the information we need through the process that we have right now. So denial of this waiver will require them to continue working with us through the, addressing the traffic study comments.
But it doesn't slow them down.
No.
Thank you.
No, won't slow them down. So we have motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. That brings us up to 9.5, right? Yeah,
This is
9.5.
for the conditional use permit
Yep.
for the building height for the
Okay.
screening of the rooftop mechanical.
So again, maximum height of the building for structures, the zoning ordinance to allow for the apparent structures or structures not intended for human occupancy to exceed the maximum height. Section 28.4.1H. Would someone like to make a motion to?
Real quick.
Oops, sorry. Yes.
Just so that you know, this application has gone to the Architectural Design Review Committee twice.
Yep.
The first time they had comments, the applicant in a subsequent resubmission addressed those comments in my interpretation.
Yep.
However, when they came back through as part of the CUP, and they would recommend that as a condition of the CUP, that additional screening will be required if it is determined that the mechanical rooftop equipment can be seen from Pleasant Street anywhere between Langley Parkway and East Side Drive intersections. They just have concerns that just in case that screening is visible from the public right away, they wanted that clause in there to require additional screening was a recommended condition.
Okay.
And just to be clear, there's only 3 sides of this screening because the front is at a lower elevation to the actual, to Pleasant Street. So they didn't feel that it was necessary to do 4 sides, which I totally agree. As we saw the elevations, should there be any mechanical change that would increase the height of their mechanical equipment, we have the option or the city has the option to say, oh, you made a change, your equipment is a lot taller than, and now it is visible, so we would require you to do screening. That is the only scenario in which I can see that would happen. So that's just to get ahead of it, should there be a change in height of mechanical equipment, and then you could see it, that they would need to put the 4th wall of screening.
Right, so if if there's a material change in it, then it's enforceable. I mean, I don't want to put something in that says if you can see it and somebody says, well, I'm standing on a bike on top of a truck that's driving by and I can see it. I want to be, again, if, you know, I'd rather just say it that way and say if there's material changes to the height,
and it's unlikely at this stage in the game for that to happen. It's just in the scenario, something does happen and they all of a sudden have to source their mechanical equipment from somewhere else, and it is, for whatever reason, a lot taller than what they originally expect. I just wanted, that's why I was trying to make a little bit more clarification as to why it was mentioned.
Yeah, and I think some of the concern, the existing building is intended to screen that side. I think there was some concern that as you start to head towards East Drive or whatever, it starts to head up. So there was some concern that, you know, the provided elevations and renderings may not have fully depicted it. So they were just a little, they wanted that caveat in there. It is entirely the board's discretion whether you want to condition that approval or not.
What's that? Dina?
With the screening proposed, the height of it, is there, close to the limit of how high they can go? Is there room to add more height if they find the...
This conditional use permit would allow them to go above the maximum 45 feet from grade, as long as those things above 45 feet are not intended for human occupancy. So it could go higher under this conditional use permit, but it cannot be used for human occupancy.
And the concern is the existing building is higher than where the mechanical, and so they think the existing building is acting as that screen.
Yes.
So they're only constructing 3 sides of screening. And ADR just had a concern that, what if that doesn't quite land the way that it's
It's a very narrow possibility based on the design that we've seen.
That and just lead time in ordering the equipment itself would totally, I just think that'd be highly unlikely.
Extremely.
Okay. The applicant happy with that? Okay. Any other questions, comments?
So it would be...
Just, that was a head nod, just for the record. Not that it's
So if that,
anything.
it would be moving approval for the CUP with the recommended condition as recommended by ADR.
Right, yeah, so that is a 9.5 to grant conditional use permit. So I'll make that motion that we grant conditional use permit as outlined with that additional condition.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. 9.6 is to grant architectural design review approval of the approximately 41,000 square foot addition to the existing Dartmouth-Hitchcock Medical Center at 251 to 253 Pleasant Street as submitted. Someone like to make a motion to grant architectural design
Condition
review?
96A.
96A is?
That's the condition. Is there a 96A?
No.
No, there is not a 96A. Then ignore my note there.
What do you think of that? I didn't read it wrong this time.
You didn't.
9.6. Would someone like to make a motion to grant architectural design review? We got a motion. I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. 9.7 is to grant major site plan approval for the construction of approximately 41,000 square foot addition to the existing Dartmouth-Hitchcock Medical Center, including expanding the parking lot, upgrades to utilities and drainage infrastructure, and other associated site improvements at tax map 7434Z, lot 22, addressed as 251 to 253 Pleasant Street in the institutional district, as submitted and subject to the following precedent and subsequent conditions.
9.7A1A through U, 9.7A2 through 9, and then subsequent conditions, 9.7B1 through 3.
Any other additions or subtractions to those? I like it when you do that, Tim. That works great for me. So train Kelly and have to do the same thing. So would someone like to make a motion to grant major site plan approval as outlined?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. You are good to go. Go dig some ground up and get it going.
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet, but close enough, yeah. Get that traffic study.
get a signed
Get that
plan
traffic
first.
study rolling. All right, thank you very much, and let's move on to 9A in our agenda.
9A, this is Callahan, Gantrell, PC, Jones and Beach Engineering, Inc., and Onyx Partners Limited. On behalf of Onyx Steeplegate Concord LLC, Onyx Regal Concord LLC, Onyx TD Concord LLC, requesting comprehensive development plan approval for consolidation of a condominium, subdivision in separate lots and ownership, and proposed mixed-use redevelopment to include certain on- and off-site improvements, fueling station, approximately 600 residential apartments, approximately 329,200 square feet of commercial retail, approximately 5,040 square feet of restaurant use at tax maps 611Z, Lot 40, addresses 270 Loudon Road, 611Z, Lot 39, addresses 282 Loudon Road, 61Z, Lot 9, addresses 277 Sheep Davis Road, and 611Z, Lot 41, addresses 260 Loudon Road, all within the Gateway Performance District. As we've mentioned at previous meetings, the CDP application is the first step in the multi-step process to facilitate the redevelopment of the former Steeplegate Mall and Regal Cinema sites. Again, because this property is in the Gateway Performance District, the CDP is required by zoning prior to the submission of any subdivision applications. At this time, only some minor changes have been provided to the city since we last discussed the project, and additional items remain to be resolved and addressed prior to the approval of the CDP. We again are recommending the board continue the CDP to October 21st in order for the applicant to address the concerns raised in the staff review and provide the appropriate response to the peer review of the updated traffic analysis.
All right, welcome back to the table. If you could state your names for the record.
Thank you. My name's Ari Pollock. I'm with the law firm of Gallagher, Callahan, and Gartrell here in Concord. I'm here tonight for Onyx Steeplegate and Onyx Regal. They, as you know, are the owners and redevelopers of the former, soon-to-be former mall and the quite former cinema property up on the Heights. And to my right is Doug Richardson from Onyx, and to my rear is Joe Ford, also of Onyx. For the record, I invited Joe to come sit with us, and he said no.
For the record. See, we thought everybody that was here before was all here for you guys, but they all left as soon as they
More
saw
popular
you.
than you think.
As soon as you saw you coming. Well, welcome back to the table. This is
Thank
just
you.
for the record. This is a reopening of the public hearing. We found the application complete in the May meeting, and we'll welcome you back to the table.
Thank you. I did hear Tim's comments at the beginning. I agree completely that we are still in the making progress stage. We have made progress, we're making progress, we're not there yet. You've heard me say it before, big projects have big to-do lists. This is a big one, and so the list of things to coordinate is considerable. We did want to provide an update tonight, tell you what is to come, and then request as the applicant for the CDP that we be continued to a date certain, which is in the staff memo of October 21st, 2026. And that is intentional because it will give us until the September deadline, which I think is September 16th, to make responsive submissions to what's in the staff report this month and what has held over from last month.
And it's your request, so that we're not under the clock here.
That is correct. It's the applicant's request that we be continued to that date certain.
Perfect.
So here's the quick summary. Following the last meeting in July, we received traffic peer review comments from VHB. Our consultant, VAI, that's a lot of initials, is preparing a reply to those comments, and we've asked that they have those ready in time for that September submission deadline. At the same time, we have supplied our supplemental traffic materials to DOT, and as recently as today, we asked for city staff's assistance getting their attention so that these reviews can go on in tandem. There's always a chicken and egg issue with DOT and city traffic engineering review, and we want to minimize that to the greatest extent that we can. There also are items relating to traffic in the city's engineering report, which also will require a response from VAI, and that is part of their to-do list. Additionally, the planning report, excuse me, for tonight's meeting also listed a series of items needing attention. Again, some big, some small. Jones Beach, the civil engineering group for the project, is preparing a reply to those items. They're working on the same submission deadline. Those items, just for your reference, include testing truck turning throughout the site, hydrant placements, items of sewer phasing as a result of the municipal project to considerably expand sewer resources in East Concord. and utility labeling connections and pathways and so forth. Meanwhile, earlier today, here's the part you probably don't know, Onyx filed a major site plan application for its first component of this master plan. The master plan, as you know, is not finished or approved because we're still here tonight talking about it. But nonetheless, we have put forward building R3, which, had I been paying attention, I would have already had on the screen for you. And now
Is
it's
this in our
stuck.
packet, is it new?
It's in the civil, yeah,
So,
it's the 110 unit building.
Yeah.
right, let me see if I can get there without, here we go. Oh, whoops, too much mousing. This guy here is building R3. It's a good one to start with for a number of reasons. Number one, it's in a bit of a self-contained portion of the site that does not require that another structure be demolished in order to construct. Number two, it brings forward housing, which is not only important to anchor the project, but also is important to the financial projections and pro formas of the project. Again, a topic of recent conversation. And it's residential construction simply takes longer than commercial or retail construction. And the idea here would be that even though this may come forward first, it may be paired with other pieces of the development that could open together. I've been careful to try and not use the word phase or phasing because it's not so much a sequential timeline we're talking about as it is picking parts of the master plan out and moving those forward for more detailed and site-specific study, which of course is the purpose of the CDP plan, to have those various pieces relate to one another in an organized way. Just, again, it's not the topic of the CDP necessarily, but it is something we filed today, and since you all want to know, it's a 4-story apartment building with 110 units of housing, including common areas, amenities for residents, surface parking, and landscaping. And we did file building elevations as well. And I would show those to you, but staff would say that they haven't even looked at it because it just came in today. So I won't do that and get scolded in front of everybody. That wouldn't be very nice. We anticipate that R3 building application might be considered in parallel with the completion of the CDP. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, at the same time as we're going to be submitting our response to traffic comments and addressing other items in the planning and engineering report that was published for tonight's meeting, we are also anticipating staff's review of what we've submitted for that building. And if the stars align, in big projects, big lists, but if the stars align, we could have a completeness review of that application at the September meeting, lining up for a real nice public hearing on all the above in October. So that's the goal.
Knock on wood.
Amen. Just a few other notes. Zoning relief supporting both the master plan and this site-specific plan has already been received from the ZBA. And in fact, we extended those approvals recently so that we would not run out of runway before those applications were filed here and considered here. Tonight's submission will need not only the traffic peer review report, but also building R3 will need an analysis of traffic as it relates to that building and that corner of the project. And so right now what you've got from us is a traffic report that considers the entirety of the comprehensive development plan. We're going to break that down to that specific site. It'll be a report within a report, if you will, just so everyone can understand how that building gets supported, either in conjunction with what comes next, if that's the way the timeline works out, or on its own if it's first to go. So back to the CDP master plan on the table tonight. There's moving parts, there's work to do. We even had a meeting earlier today That helped us answer a number of these sort of sequencing questions and working with senior staff on things like private-public partnerships, the 3 Ps. There are a lot of eyes on this project. That's why we're here to provide this update versus just ask for a deferral and send in a letter. We're not able to accomplish a whole lot tonight, but we did want to be available to provide the update in person, receive any comments. There also is a design review submission behind this. Any comments now or then could all be collected up and made part of that September submission. So, with that, happy to take feedback, questions, thoughts, preferences. And then, as was mentioned, we are asking as the applicant to be continued until October 21.
Have you thought about opaque signs yet? I just want to put that on your plate so you can start adding that to the list.
Opaque signs, solar panels, and activation of the pond next to the building. They're all on the list, Mr. Chairman.
And a subdivision.
And a subdivision. I'm happy to hear that residential is high on the list to get that started. That's great.
Yeah.
It's much needed. So
for sure.
Amanda.
Question, your notation in electric charging vehicles, I would assume that even as we move forward with a lot more electrical vehicles, do you guys anticipate mapping out maybe potentially more electric charging? Because when you've got as many units in each complex, from 300 units to 170 to 120 in the other.
About 600 total.
Yes, the answer is yes. It is part of our consideration, and it will be part of the site planning. I believe it is part of what went in today. Just, I guess I should have clarified, the CDP plan that you've got, I think, talks about 120 units in that building. It's actually coming forward as 110, but the project as a whole is still plus or minus 600. Where those 10 pop up in the other buildings is to be determined, but that's still the project goal overall.
Just an interesting side note on that. I had dinner up at the Vida restaurant on exit 17, the new Italian restaurant up at exit 17. It was busy, Friday night, packed. I sat next to a couple at the bar, my wife and I, and of course I chatted up and started talking, so that's what I do. And he was an electric vehicle driver, found the map that said they were there, popped in to do the charging, was in to have a quick appetizer and a drink, and was chatting with him. The bartender heard me talking and said, I can't tell you how many people come in and frequent the facility because of that. And I never thought about it, but if you build it, they will come type of thing, where some of your retail partners are going to benefit by having electric charging stations that people will be able to drop in and then walk through the facility and take advantage of it. So it was an interesting little eye-opening for me on the why people do it and how long it takes. I was more interested in how long it took, how much it cost, and what the piece was. But it was a good little exercise.
We are programming charging at the residential, but in addition, our retail tenants, the 2 anchors, are programming charging stations.
Perfect.
And gets into a little bit of control of the areas, so we have to watch radiuses and brands.
Yeah,
charging.
true.
But we are working on it.
And obviously, infrastructure and building in everything to get you started is an important piece of it. So,
absolutely.
Good question. Councilor Todd.
Thank you. I just would follow up on that in the public testimony we received from Mr. Santa Cruz, who actually really repeating the testimony he gave in person, I believe, but I think that's item 5 on his list. So I'm assuming that those are all items you're going to take into consideration as you move forward with the plans as well.
Yeah, and just for the record, I asked him to submit that just because it was a lot, and he did go through and cover a lot of topics that he had public testimony on. So I asked him to summarize them, submit them as public testimony so they became part of the record so you guys could see them. And I think it's valuable, and I'm sure he'll come back to the meeting when we're talking truck radiuses and turning radiuses, because that's his jam. But it's definitely one to be on the table.
We do have his comments. Thank you.
Good. Okay, other questions, comments, concerns? Council Todd?
Just quickly, what would you propose, or what do you think might be the timeline for completion of just this one component that you're planning to start on now?
The construction timeline is approximately 18 months, about a year and a half. All that goes well here, if we could get a foundation in before winter, it is a wood frame structure that gets panelized, so it could be assembled in January, February, and then really commence construction in the spring. And that coincides with some discussions today we had with staff regarding completion of the pump station.
That's one of the things we're trying to line up with, is to have, rather than have all sorts of contingencies about what we're going to do with wastewater prior to that station opening, we're trying to see if it lines up so that we're ready at the time that it's ready. And we did get reports from, well, it was Mike, but engineering, that project is moving forward nicely.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I want to see if the applicant would care to address some of the traffic issues. A lot of the attachments have to do with traffic. There's a 177-page traffic impact study, 8 pages of comments from VHB. It's something that should be considered pretty seriously. I don't know if you guys would care to address any of that tonight.
Yeah, I don't know that we're able to get into the details, and I know that Jeff Dirk at VAI would wonder why Doug and I are talking about the things we hired him to do. But I guess what I could say for now is that we did see the engineering comments relating to traffic and do have the VHB comment letter, and our traffic group does have it as well. I specifically saw references to some of the existing roads around the site and whether or not there's mitigation needed there. I mean, we have come forward with the mitigation package. We're talking not only to you at the city about it, but to the state as well, as some of those are state roads.
We've also, in the meeting earlier with city staff, we've committed to have a meeting between VAI, our people, and city staff prior to the issuance of their response.
We asked for that.
Okay. Thank you.
So when you come back, it'll be more fully baked and...
We're gonna have a submission on to respond to those comments
A month
from
before
our,
the next meeting.
right. So we're gonna get it. If it goes to plan, we're gonna get it in by that September deadline, so that it's ripe for conversation at the October meeting.
Okay. Good. Other comments, questions? No.
Just need a motion to continue to
All right,
October 21.
Again, yeah, staff recommends the applicant request the continuance, which they have done. So we need a motion to continue the application to the date certain of October 21st. Would someone like to make that motion? I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries, so we will see you in October.
We'll see you right now, actually, too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, item 10, design review. Welcome back to the table.
10A is Gallagher, Callahan, Gartrell, PC Jones, and Beach Engineering, Onyx Partners LTD, on behalf of Onyx Steeplegate Concord, Onyx Regal Concord, and Onyx TD Concord, requesting non-binding design review consultation as part of the development review application for the consolidation condominium re-subdivision and proposed mixed-use redevelopment as described. The tax maps and addresses we've previously described, all within the Gateway Performance District. At this point, staff would state that there really has been no new information regarding the design review submission at this point. We recommend that the board determine that the design review phase of the application process is complete at the end of this meeting tonight.
Okay.
We agree.
We agree. No further comment needed? No? Anything else?
You do not need a public hearing on this either.
You don't need anything. Recommendation, staff recommends that the planning board proceed as follows. Discuss the proposed project. State that the design review phase shall be completed at the end of the public meeting. There's no motion or actions needed for the design review phase. So that piece is done. We'll check that off the list. Thank you. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Don't forget about those opaque signs. Hold you to it.
I made a note on the back of the page.
All right, guys, thank you. We'll see you again. All right,
Let's get to the fun part.
That's the end of the meeting, right?
No.
Oh. All right. Regulatory amendments, hit
So
us with a
I am
couple.
going to
Make this painless.
combine 11A and 11B into one presentation. It's the same report associated with both. Just to give you a quick 10,000-foot overview of this. The intent of these regulation amendments, both to the zoning ordinance and to the site plan regulations, are associated with parking, loading, and driveway access. The shift of the majority of the design standards to the site plan regulations allows the use of waivers instead of variances from the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And a secondary way of doing this for projects that are not subject to site plan review would be to create new conditional use permit processes within the zoning ordinance. Again, the majority of projects are going to come through site plan review. It's our hope that the majority of these requirements that people regularly ask for relief from would no longer require a trip to the zoning board. They would all be able to be handled by the planning board through your review process, because we believe that that's a more efficient, better use of both the applicants and the staff's time, and I think the board here is better equipped to handle some of these types of questions and determinations of relief than the zoning board does in a vacuum and the statutory constraints that you have under variance law. So what these amendments do essentially is create relief valves. We're not making any substantive changes to the requirements of the ordinance, with the exception of codifying the one parking space per unit for residential uses as the legislature has dictated to us over the last couple of sessions. So that's the only change we're making to parking requirements.
You're welcome.
No comment. Also, by making these changes, we're hoping to align better where we've had conflicts between what the site plan regulations require and what the zoning ordinance requires, so that there is a single consistent requirement for all parking requirements. There is no difference between the two regulatory bodies and frameworks. I'm happy to go through a bulleted list of all the different changes that we've made through this very collaborative process that's taken a long time, and some resets in terms of refocusing our attention from a more comprehensive look at the overall ordinance to where we are today, understanding that the master plan process is now kicked off and has started. We're really looking at this as an interim change to provide that relief valve and focus on that relief valve rather than making substantive changes, which I think are more policy oriented, that would make more sense to take place after the master plan is complete. So I'm glad to go into further detail if anybody wants to, but I'll stop there and answer questions if anybody has them.
I did have a question that when I was reading through it, I did notice in the staff report for this first item that's on here, there's an item in here that said if adopted, the attached zoning ordinance amendments will, and specifically caught my eye was item 4, which is remove requirements for stacking spaces, curbing and guardrails, which we've had extensive conversations about curbing, elimination of parking areas, most parking area landscape standards, design standards for loading and
So
refuse.
what we would be doing is removing those from zoning, but keeping them in site plan
Okay,
regulations.
that was my question.
So that's when you get to the subdivision regulations is a reciprocal thing that says, with the relocation of all the requirements from zoning, they're now in the site plan regulations.
So I read that as we're going to see more curbing
Yeah, we
discussions.
get to talk more about asphalt curbing.
Right.
But again, it puts it
Make
into.
sure there's shall in there, okay? I
That's
mean.
right. It puts it into our purview, which, again, I think from the development side, the development
It's not
community,
just
the development community's going to love it.
It's
And
not just.
staff's going to love it.
That's the other
Yeah.
piece. It's not just for the development community, it's for administration of this ordinance and regulations as well.
Yeah, makes it much more efficient.
It's overdue.
Yeah, much more efficient. Okay, so that was my question on that. So, questions for Tim on this?
Maybe a point, maybe a question, somewhere in between. I've heard about this before with other municipalities, other towns in the state of New Hampshire, and I understand that most of them already have parking before the planning board, so we're more or less coming into lines with other towns throughout the state, is that correct?
Because of the way our regulatory system works, there are certain parking lots that are not required to go through site plan review. So if we just shifted everything to the site plan regulations, we'd have a gap where there's a certain small percentage of smaller parking lots that would have no regulatory requirements whatsoever. So we opted to keep a lot of things still in zoning, but change the relief mechanism from variances to conditional use permits and then waiver process with the planning board through the regulations. for those small number of projects that aren't going to have to come in front of you as a board for a site plan. We want to make sure that there are still some basic safety standards, dimensional requirements that doesn't let, you know, we won't have feral parking lots popping up where no regulations are required.
Feral park.
I like to come up with weird terms.
That's a term I haven't heard used before.
Not down.
I like that.
So I'm assuming because we don't see Kelly here tonight, she has other things to do.
Kelly is prohibited at the moment by medical advice to come to night meetings, and her maternity leave starts next week, so.
That's great for her. Has she had a chance
Yes.
to? Okay.
Yes. Kelly has been integrally involved with the review of these changes. I kind of took the lead on these after Kelly started with my newfound time to try to get this to the front, because it's a priority of both from the City Council, from the Economic Development Advisory Committee, the Planning Board, staff. It's time to get these done.
Great. Thanks.
Okay, other questions? So we got a recommendation.
What I have what I need from you here today is on the zoning side of things. I need a recommendation to pass these along to the City Council for their own public hearing and adoption. And then for the site plan regulatory changes, those are planning board regulations. I'd ask that you set a public hearing for those amendments with the planning board on September 16th. Okay. And at the time when we do the site plan regs in September, I will ask that you condition and make the effective date of the site plan regulations upon the concurrent adoption of the zoning requirements by the council, which will take place in October if all goes well.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
A quick question.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Tim. I think I understand your approach here, but can you touch on the handicap parking ratios and the removal from that? and how
Essentially, rather than have our own, which may or may not be concurrent with federal law, we
ADA.
defer with ADA and federal requirements.
Yep. Sorry, I thought.
Yep. Trying to eliminate any chances for inconsistencies by referencing other.
Good question. Okay, other
So
questions?
those are the two motions we need.
Just a
David?
quick question.
Yep.
On, this specifically addresses the curbing. By transferring that curbing issue stuff from zoning to us, is it now the burden is on us to take the gray? Because in my mind, every time we talk curbing, we're in gray areas.
I think I will caution you, the majority of the conversation that the board has had about curbing has been on roadways. It's been for subdivisions and for private drives that are associated with residential development. I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alec, Matt, Pete, we've had a ton of other than tonight, which of course happens. We had the waiver tonight to the curbing requirement for the Society of Protection of New Hampshire Forest
Right.
to allow them to use timber
Log,
instead of.
the logs.
Correct. So this is in terms of basically our site plans for non-residential, for apartment buildings. It's not for roadways. That's subdivision regulations, which is another set of regulations altogether.
So we'll get a piece of it, is what
Yep.
you're saying.
Yep.
Okay.
There'll be future amendments. Again, once we get through the master plan process, I anticipate we're going to have a laundry list of regulatory changes that we'll be making over the coming years.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so there's two pieces to this, is the recommendation.
To City Council for the zoning piece.
The zoning amendments to City Council, you want us to handle them as two
Two separate motions, please.
motions? If we could, I'll make that motion that any discussion on recommending it, I should ask. I think I'm comfortable making that recommendation. I'll make the motion that we recommend the adoption of the zoning amendments to City Council for their consideration in either the September or October meeting.
So moved.
That's a second. Yep.
Yep. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries, and second item on it is to set the planning board hearing for consideration of adoption of site plan regulation amendments for the September 16th meeting. I'll make that motion if someone would like to second that.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Brings us to 11C.
11C.
Non-conforming
Non-conforming
structures.
structures. So the intent of these amendments is to provide increased flexibility for residential conversions of non-conforming structures in the RD and UT districts, which currently requires a special exception from the zoning board. This would change that again to a conditional use permit process with the planning board. Perhaps more importantly, the real nexus for this change is, and Matt can attest to this, when we have a home sitting on a large lot that's been there since the 1800s, and you want to subdivide a parcel that has nothing to do with that particular building, but because you've modified the lot, that structure now loses its non-conforming structure, and right now you'd have to go to the zoning board to get a variance for that. These regulatory amendments would eliminate the need to go to the zoning board. It would state that as long as the nonconformity is not exacerbated in any way or made more nonconforming, you are not required to go to the zoning board. You are simply allowed to subdivide the property without going anywhere. The other piece to that is there would be some certain dimensional nonconformities that would be eligible for a conditional use permit process as determined by basically the zoning determinations made by the department.
And this just covers structures.
This is just structures, correct?
So if nothing is being done to the structure, meaning the family's still living in the home and they just want to have their kid now build the house next to them, that
They're
this
not
doesn't...
going to have to go get a variance in order to subdivide a piece of property that has nothing to do with where the house is.
Okay. But should they choose to change the structure, then that kicks off the...
If they were to make it any more non-conforming, then yes, you'd be in a variance situation, yes.
All right, I'm good with that.
Yep, that's a good change, I think. Any other discussion on that? If not, I'll make a recommendation that we recommend to City Council the consideration of this zoning amendment.
I'll second that.
How's that? Is
Yep, that works.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. 11D.
Two more. This one is Appendix B and C. These appendices, which list the arterial and connector roadways within the zoning ordinance, haven't been changed in years. And we've obviously had changing traffic and land use patterns that have taken place since they were last adopted. Again, the primary function of an arterial is to move traffic, and the connector roads also essentially collect traffic from other streets and then bring them to those arterials. These classifications and definitions are based on the traffic volumes they carry. In order to more accurately reflect the nature of the city's roadway network, we're proposing the attached amendments to revise those lists. I did also get some additional feedback from the engineering division today, just clarifying the state route nomenclature, which I will make to those amendments before I post them for the City Council's consideration. But again, I'm looking for a recommendation by the board to recommend the council adopt these.
So just for the record on the strikeouts and the changes, it looks to me like we have less arterial major arteries. Just, I'm looking at it, Manchester Street, Water Street, South Main Street, those are not listed in the blue for major arteries, is that correct? Well, South Main from Clinton to Pleasant.
It's because Route 3 goes from the Pembroke border all the way to the Bosquen border.
Oh, okay.
Previously,
So you encompass all that.
Basically from Pembroke
Route
to
3
Bosquen.
was listed
And
as.
106?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so
it's not specific Manchester Street, Water Street, South Main, Franklin to this.
And there'll be some additional things added, New Hampshire route, or state route, or US route. There's certain things, like, for example, New Hampshire Route 3, it's actually US Route 3, so there are minor modifications that I need to make.
Staff makes, okay.
Tim, just out of curiosity, where it says major arterials from Hoyt Road from I-93 exit 17 to Canterbury Town Line, that's heading west, where does it start at I-93? Which side of the bridge?
Oh, that's a good question. Does it start on 393 or does it start on?
It starts at 90, Hoyt Road starts at
Hoyt Road.
93, just to the east of the roundabout, I believe.
The east of the roundabout.
Yeah.
So like by the northbound on-ramp, that area.
So for the arterial portion would be from that 93 exit 17 at the bridge.
At the bridge, yeah.
To the
on the east side of the bridge to the.
But is it just as
So it'd be
arterial up East Side Drive and all the way to 393?
all the way to the Bosquen Town Line, which is almost to the roundabout in Bosquen.
Right, but just recall that Concord's border in that location doesn't touch Bosquen. It touches Canterbury, and there's a weird slice that comes through there.
Right.
Kind of goes through Boyce Road and Shoe Street Roads.
Industrial area.
Knows very, very well. So yeah, it's just
It's a little wonky.
funky up there,
Yeah, yeah.
order-wise, yeah.
Funky up there.
But the volumes,
Funky and feral.
but the volumes,
It's like
the volumes
feral,
justify
whatever.
its classification.
Oh, yeah, now it does.
So, and then minor arterials on that same subject is East Side Drive to Loudon Road, that little teeny space that covers the state access to their
It's
facility.
all the way from Loudon to the intersection, the exit ramp and the bridge.
Wow, that's,
But not past that down.
Then
the
from
rest
that
of East
point,
Side
it's
Drive.
not a minor, then it becomes a major collector.
interesting stuff.
Yeah, that is
We
interesting.
also, is it
Okay.
Mountain Road also becomes a collector as well? The one that,
Mountain Road's a major collector from Shawmut to Shaker.
Yeah, it's broken up a little bit, yeah.
Auburn Street is a major collector. Interesting. Okay, questions or
That's
comments?
only on Halloween, though.
That's right.
It's an arterial on Halloween.
Somebody to get more plowing. They plow those more often, right? Okay, so this
Motion
is,
to recommend to council.
so this is 11D. I'll make a motion to recommend adoption for city council consideration for the September-October meeting.
so moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
And the last one that I threw together at the last second, again,
Reassuring.
this,
Close look, please.
this
11E.
this was, in order to only have to go to you and the council once, the National Flood Insurance Program has updated the flood insurance study and the firm maps yet again. We just recently adopted these changes late last year that became effective in January. There is a new study that becomes effective in November of this year, and the new maps become effective both in January and November. So this is again updating
So
the
just the
language
dates.
to make sure that we're still in good standing with the flood insurance.
So just the date. So I'll make
It's
a
literally a
motion,
date.
I'll make a motion that we recommend adoption to city council for their consideration in the September-October meeting.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
And I will note that City Planner Kelly Karen, who is a certified floodplain manager, made sure that was correct.
Yeah, she was okay with that, huh? All right, that brings us to our last item on the agenda tonight, item 12.
May I say one thing?
Yes.
Thank you for doing this. It sounds to me like you're streamlining
Yeah.
things, making
Right.
it easier for people, having more clarity, so, thank you.
That's fantastic.
Taking
Transparency, everything. Yeah, it works great. Thank you.
here.
For master plan, I will defer to the deputy city manager.
All right.
So I'll start by commending Tim and Kelly, as, it was a collaborative effort with them and others, and myself, on all those amendments. They're overdue, and it feels good to get them done, and it's gonna make life a lot easier for everybody, so, but well done, Tim, because Tim was carried the majority of the water on those. So for a master plan update, just quickly, so thank the board for its time back on July 21st when you met with UTIL and got an update. So hopefully that was informative for all of you. We're continuing to work with UTIL and their team as well as New Hampshire Listens on the project. Data transfers and research and tracking down other data is underway. We're actively working on preparing a community profile and some of the base mapping that's going to be required here in the next month or so. I'm pleased to announce that the website went live on the 18th.
Yeah.
It is concordnh.gov/masterplan update, one word. You can go there, and it's we'll flush it out over time. There's things that we should be adding here shortly, but it's a really good start. Folks can go and learn about the process. What is a master plan? What is our process? What is our schedule? There's a nice graphic that explains the schedule. There are salient past master plans that are on that website, which are important, which will be helpful as we go forward with this update to have that connective tissue. There's also a way that the public can sign up to be notified about master plan, all things master plan, whatever news might be coming out, press releases, events that we'll be having coming up. So that is live. And we thank Stephanie Breton for her work because she did most of the lifting on that piece of it for us. In accordance with the discussions we had on July 21st, and this is in the memo that you got in your packet, the community visioning session has been scheduled for September 19th, which is Saturday morning. It's at the Governor's Hall at the Capitol Center for the Arts. We picked that location because it's large, it's centrally located. There's parking nearby in the Store Street parking garage, which is free on Saturday mornings. The Capitol Center has the audio-visual things that we're going to need to make the event successful. They have staff that can help us set up and break down, which is important, so all of those things. The format that UTIL staff and New Hampshire Listens are recommending we go forward with is kind of a science fair open house type of approach. We would start off in the morning, and we want to talk to the board about what time you want to start, so I'll get back to that in a second. But essentially, there would be a welcome greeting by a member of the planning board, whoever you want that to be, the chair or others. There'd be a brief presentation about the master plan process with some data points and a discussion of significant highlights in certain topical areas or accomplishments that have occurred over the last, call it since the last master plan in 2008. And that would be topical based on things like housing, historic resources, open space, natural resources, economic development, transportation, parks and rec, energy and sustainability, things like that. So trying to give some folks some basic information, because we're trying to educate those who come, but we also want those who come to educate us. Following that process, we're going to essentially have those present circulate around the room for an hour to maybe 80 minutes to visit various engagement stations. There will be approximately a dozen of them, so they can engage more. If they're interested in housing, go to the housing table. If you want to talk about transportation, go to the transportation engagement station. If you want to talk about open space and natural resources, go to that table. And there will be a few others along that line. I would note that New Hampshire Listens, working with us, is facilitating this. They're going to have a table that's going to be set up for youth. So if you happen to join your parents that morning and you want to go talk about the future of the city, you can go talk to those folks about what you think you want Concord to be in the future, the parts that you want to preserve, the parts you want to change. So hopefully folks stay here or come back when they're young adults. And then after that process is done, whoever is left present at the event will bring them back together. Each table will report out briefly, 1 minute session, 2 minutes at the most. Hey, here are the major themes that we heard. And then we would go on from there. We'll have light refreshments that will be provided, so hopefully folks will come out. We double-check schedules. There are no major events that day, which is hard to find in this town because it's a very busy community. And, you know, basically we're asking for the board's guidance about what time you want to start. If you want to do it at 9 or 9:30, it would be approximately a 2-hour event. So you can talk about that now, or you can talk about it after I
Let's hit
finish.
that right now, yeah.
Get the easy one. Let's get the easy one out of the way.
I'd say 9:30 only because farmer's market starts at 8:30 and then it gives me at least an hour.
I say 9 because I have to go run a meeting across the state at 1, so let's do 9.
Farmer's market, anyone? Anyone else?
Yeah, but the farmer's market can run after too. You can pop over after.
Oh, you're not kidding. You don't get lettuce if you go after 8:30. Come on.
Get it from Mexico.
So I think I heard Matt say 9 o'clock worked for him. We got.
He's not the only one.
I'm inclined to get it over early.
At 8:15 in bed.
You can get there. You get all your lettuce before 9. I'm right in at 9 o'clock. Be ready to go.
That's a lot of vendors to cover in 30 minutes.
We good with 9 o'clock, everybody?
30? Anyone else go to farmer's market? Am I the only one?
Do I hear 9:15?
I'm going to make a motion that we do 9 o'clock.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Amanda? You can vote no.
I will.
All those? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. We start at 9 o'clock. Sorry, Amanda.
Can't talk as
So let's discuss. I want to hop right into headcount. Matt? Oh, go ahead, Matt.
So, and then, yeah, so just moving on the report. So the last bit is advisory subcommittee and the board. You know, you got some information from staff back on the 17th and July 21st about an advisory subcommittee. So the board started having that conversation on the July 21st meeting. Essentially, it would be helpful if the board could, this evening, confirm whether or not you want an advisory subcommittee to be involved in the process. And if you do, what is the final size and composition of that subcommittee? Total members, boards and commissions or other constituencies they may represent, etc. And then if you are going to go through a process of appointing them, depending who's on it, just tell us what that process will look like or what you want it to look like. If there's going to be whatever the application, selection, appointment process might be.
Important that we get this tonight because further delays are really going to start impacting this timeline on the project.
So
So
more
is
importantly,
this-
I've been doing this a long time. I can't count on less than one hand how many times I've been cold when I've been sitting here. And tonight is one of them. It is cold in here. And just for
I
the
don't know what you're
record,
talking about.
just for the
Some
record,
people are hot.
a new thing that everybody's gonna see on this side of the table is we've got lights shining in our eyes now from the parking garage as cars come out of the parking garage. I'm sitting here and I can see halos of Ari's head over here as the lights are shining on the back of them. So
Ari is an angel.
What does this
come
have
on.
to do
I'm
with
just
the
telling you,
number
that's
of members that we're voting
that's
on?
at 9 o'clock. A 9 o'clock start. I'm on a roll. So
Are you, but you're
Ari,
awake,
then.
right?
I
You're
am
awake.
awake. Yes,
Okay.
I am.
All right.
So
Maybe you should bring blankets.
yeah, that's right. But it is cold.
I'm not cold.
So, I appreciate everybody's time that we did on the July meeting. We had good conversations. We got some good feedback from the public. I'm inclined to say that we do want to do a subcommittee, and we need to do it formally and recognize that we want to appoint a subcommittee. It's our responsibility. So it's not, city staff's not doing it, we're doing it. So we want to go forward. I want to go forward with a subcommittee. I'm just looking for feedback if we are in an agreement and can kind of move that forward. Do we want to go through with a subcommittee, yay or nay? Are we all good with that?
Yep.
Any opposition to that? Yes, Amanda?
We'll have a separate vote on how many?
Yes, I'm going to talk about
Yeah,
that.
yes.
And again, as we've talked about in the past, this is advisory to us. This is not anything that's going to bear weight on exactly what's happening. We need someone that can drive that piece of the puzzle, come back to us and say, here's what I heard, here's the information, here's a summary of everything, and then we make the decisions.
The expectation is that this subcommittee will have 4 spaced out meetings throughout the process. No more, no less.
And those dates can somewhat be targeted so that those that are being asked know what their responsibility and when they're going to be showing up. And so, because I look at, our list and I want to identify those that know that they're out of town January through March, or whatever.
That's why it's important for us to get decision made
Yeah.
tonight so we can start getting those dates put together.
So again, first and foremost, I think we do want to do a subcommittee, is that
Yes.
correct? So secondarily to that is the number of people that are on there. I think at a bare minimum, it's 12. I think I'm comfortable with 14, 15. If we get to that point, I would like to have a couple of people that are just public figures. I think the youth aspect of it is a really important one. We could probably have 1 or 2 people in that scenario. So again, I'm not worried about 14 being an even or odd number, because it's all coming back to us. So if we're comfortable with that, I think we look at this, the list that's in here in your packet on where the boards are coming from and the numbers that staff put together, with planning board, 5 or 6 members of the planning board, Conservation Commission, Economic Development and Advisory, Energy and Improvement, Energy and Environment, Heritage Commission, Recreation Parks Advisory, Transportation Policy, gives us 12. If we add 2 more for public, it gives us 14, and what?
Housing.
And housing for 15.
I would like to make 2 suggestions.
Yep.
15, I think, is great. I would like to have 1 public member possibly be youth. I think it'd be important to have 1 public member that's a member of the senior community.
Yep.
And housing, I totally agree with.
Yep.
The other comment I'd like to make is I don't think we should designate necessarily the chairs of these commissions.
Yeah.
And I think we need to look at people, we need to be thoughtful.
And I think I said that in the meeting, is I'm not interested in someone that's got an agenda or someone that's got, is working on this. I do want to look at it and say, if the chair is the right person,
Great,
then it's great. But I don't want to just automatically say, okay, the chair of TPAC, the chair of Economic Development, the chair of Conservation Commission. I want to look at it and say, Conservation Commission, boy, we've got 2 or 3 really good opportunities to bring people forward to that. Matt?
So, as you know, Rich, I spent quite a bit of time going through all these committees, and I made a spreadsheet of all of the members, and I started looking how to diversify this with younger people that maybe have families in the community, with people who provide more ethnic and racial diversity, which will help, maybe from the immigrant population. and I agree, people who are not necessarily always called on.
So,
Because this is advisory, we don't need to have the conservation expert necessarily.
So Matt, I got a question for you. On that topic, we're very conscious of transparency and not speaking amongst ourselves in any scenario where there's anything that comes before the board or anything that comes before us. Nobody sends emails out to say, hey, we got a plan that's coming up tonight. In this scenario, we're talking about people that we know. I know somebody that's this, or I know somebody that's that. I wouldn't feel comfortable unless we ran it by you or the city solicitor to say, can we as a group communicate, since we're going to be recommending people with Leon and with the alternates as well, can we communicate amongst ourselves regarding, hey, I've got a really good candidate for this position. Anybody know them? Do you have any feedback? It's not a public piece, I guess, and I don't know if we're good to do that or not.
Just speculating, and Matt can correct me with his impression if he wants, but because you're not in a decision-making capacity for a land use regulatory process, I believe you can deliberate those types of things as long as the final decision is made at a public meeting. But I defer.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got candidates that you think you want to reach out to, or if,
And I don't want to do it in a public forum.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to do that outreach prior to making a decision.
But if you're, I guess my question would be, you're going to set the slate here. It looks like we're at 15.
Yeah.
With the ones that are recommended in the report or representatives from those committees in the report, plus one youth, one senior, and one housing person. Is that what it is?
Well, two public and one housing. Yeah. So
two public and one housing.
Yeah,
but
and
I thought
then
I
we'll
heard
do
one youth and one senior.
If we can target
and
youth,
we'll target them. But again, I don't want it just. We got to have a senior. We got to have a youth. I mean, if we can get the right person. Well, yeah, if we get the right person.
Well, no, but I think you do, because I really do, as I said last time, I really do think those constituencies need to have a voice.
Okay.
And particularly, as I said before, on the senior side, you've got multiple sides of that equation, as in youth.
So we'll find the right person then.
Yeah,
at that
because you
point.
don't have that on any of these others.
I'll just reiterate that in terms of how this advisory committee is functioning, that's not the input group, that's the evaluating what we're hearing group.
Right.
So it's more important for the youth and the elderly and the senior population to be participating in the public outreach parts.
So I also contacted a civics teacher at Concord High to see if we could get something at Concord High. I volunteered to go talk to the kids to get their input so they can do a similar workshop up there in Merrimack Valley also, if I can find the right person there, just to get that youth input. All right, because I think it's really important that people know that we are concerned that everybody has input, right? And that we are as transparent and inclusive as possible. So if we can get somebody from Concord High or Merrimack Valley to come report to us. Great.
So we'll focus on a housing, a senior, not an elderly. We'll strike that from the record, Matt.
Hey,
no, he said elderly. So
I qualify for elderly housing in 2 years, okay?
And housing, young and a senior would be the focus. Dina.
One, how young is young, and
Right.
and two,
How old is old?
and two, for those two pop-up members, could be, how do you feel about maybe not having it be a permanent person? Like, maybe a student might not be available for all 4 meetings, so maybe if you kind of have more than one.
Yeah. So we may have, it's a good thought. You know, again, it's 4 meetings. Maybe they can't commit to that, or do we want them to?
Well, that's why I was saying, if we had those dates, or at least a name range, that when you're presenting to the representative, whether they're on these committees or they're the 3 that are of public choosing, then at least they know what we're asking them, can you show up for these 4 meetings?
Right.
Are you available? Can you commit to this?
And I think for consistency, we need to assign someone to that role, but maybe put 2 people in where you gotta, this is
Regular and alternate.
This is the regular and this is the alternate, and they can, if there's a problem, we could do it that way. But, you want to have a person that's named as this person's going to be the go-to person for this and work that piece of it.
And I'll just, for the people who are being appointed for boards and committees, also remember that there's 2 meetings for each board and committee with the consultant team throughout the process as well. So again, this advisory subcommittee is not, it's really that sounding board to make sure that we're staying on track. It's not the place to provide the input, it's to provide the feedback on what's being heard.
So that is I received a few phone calls about this subcommittee, and that was the question, like,
what's going to be
why are we not on the list? And I said, well, you are associated with this group that is on the list, and so you can talk, and then you can provide your input to that group, and then they can bring it forward. So.
All right, so again, just noted in the report here, if appointed, the advisory subcommittee will be 4 times during the process to, and it's outlined in here, advise on key issues and priorities for the plan should address, assist with coordinating and aligning the plan with ongoing future initiatives, review and provide constructive feedback on the proposed process plan materials while they're in development, including initial findings, interim deliverables and recommendations, and amplify the outreach awareness. We want to assign people to these roles that are capable of doing that. So it's not just a person that is going to take direction from us, it's a person that's going to turn around and say, okay, I'm responsible for this piece of it. How do I get to the constituents that I'm talking to and work my piece? And again, if they're the youth development person and the senior development person, it's not as tactical as it would be if they're the economic development person that's going to be responsible for outreach in certain areas. The youth piece of it is more of a feedback loop to be able to get that feedback on how they envision the city in 30 years, and senior living as well, seniors as well. So those 2 roles, I'm not worried about finding the right person to be the cheerleader, because it's a fairly easy lift. It's the other ones that are going to be a lift for us to find the right people to do that.
So do we, what action do we need to take tonight?
I think we took the action of
we've got the yes and how many.
And setting the notes. So
now it's the how.
Moving us on. Amanda, thank you. Appreciate that.
How are we appointing these? How are we selecting?
So your point earlier about us meeting to talk about this not in a public setting, because I might say, I want this person.
I hate this
and
person.
Councilor Todd says, like, no, absolutely not, right? But
Not that he would say.
are people comfortable if we pick the planning board members and then that group of 6 then does the work to identify the others? Would people be comfortable with that and then bring that back?
Yeah.
Or do you want to do it all together? Because just more meetings.
I'd say you pick the planning board members now, because that gives you the beginning of the structure.
What I'm asking is
Yeah.
if they then would do
those
the work
6.
and then
Right,
identify the others.
Well, we can all help, we
Or
can all
could
give
make those
suggestions.
recommendations.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to open up all of them, every member, every alternate. Here's the people that have come forward and are interested. What's the recommendation, Matt, on us maybe using the website as a tool to be able to promote this? I don't want to get a lot of people. I mean, it's our purview to say, okay, we got a bunch of applications and for these particular areas, but there might be people out there that would be a great fit that we aren't going to think of, that I want to at least get it out there in some capacity.
So we can do that. If you want people to send some sort of particularly letter of interest, we can do that and advertise that and collect those for you and give them to the committee.
Yep.
If you are going to appoint the 6 members tonight, those 6 members could also work within, who they know in the community that they might think would be good fits, or take a look at the list that Matt's put together of those commissions and boards of commissions who they think might be a good fit.
Yep.
That group could get together at some point in the not too distant future and compare notes, and then make final decisions about who's on and who's not. If you have concerns about deliberating, we can talk to the legal department about that. There was
About the 91A issues.
There's some 91A issues about, affecting people's reputations and things of that nature. We
Just
can
like
get some feedback for you on that if you want.
Public session or something. I mean, it's just sensitive to the fact that if we're talking about people, I don't want it in the public record.
Yeah, I understand that. But I think, at the end, when they are appointed, that's a public
100%,
process.
yeah, 100%, yeah, I agree with that.
But if there's an application and deliberative process that you're going to go through, I think we could talk to the legal department about that. But a good start would be whoever your six are going to be with the planning board, and then we can work on advertising for the public members and
Setting a time for the 6 members to get together initially.
exactly, all of that, and get it going.
Okay,
Go ahead, Brett.
Councilor Todd.
Yeah, thanks. It's all right.
I'll go next.
Okay. Well, I just had an alternate idea about the non-planning board members on the committees, which is we could simply say to the committees, you have until X time to meet amongst yourselves and decide who would be the best representative.
Yeah.
Because the committee members are going to know who is, and then they'll just get to vote on whoever they think is the best
To
representative.
help expedite things.
Move things
Yeah,
forward.
and that would at least take that off the plate of
The 6.
the 6 from the planning board, right. I think it's going to be a bit hard enough just to find the right, those other 3 people.
Yeah.
That's going to be enough work, I think.
I would concur with that approach. I think for expediting the process, and who knows the committees better than the committees themselves.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I really wouldn't feel comfortable, picking someone from, I don't know, conservation. I mean, I sat on that commission, but still, I don't know what they're doing now. I don't know who the most appropriate person is, but they would know.
My question is, though, do you have to have somebody that's actually on the commission now? Or could you pick somebody that's up and coming, that's really engaged in the community in that field? They're not on the city committee.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
I mean, to
that's-
me,
again,
that's what you
we
want.
want.
You want to hear from people that aren't embedded.
Yeah, but I think,
You can certainly get recommendations from the Conservation Commission or the Heritage Commission, but I think you ought to look at a wider.
can I respond to
Yes,
that?
yeah.
I was just going to, I would say that ultimately what we want, I think what maybe you're driving at is we want to make sure we have participation in the process from people in the community. For this committee, I think that's a minimal portion of the process, actually. I think the bigger portion would be if you get someone who's really eager out there, seniors, youth, whoever it is, and we can convince them to come to as many of the meetings as possible and participate, that's really where we're going to get the most benefit, I think. So this is more of a kind of just like a checks kind of system to have this committee in place, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but.
I concur. I think that if you're talking about the people who are going to be on the advisory subcommittee, they should be members of the boards that are on the list. I think we want those that aren't members of those to be involved in the public participation process.
Just to have an opportunity. And we want people to have enough information too, right? So if we're talking about, if they're evaluating sort of conservation issues, make recommendations, they need to know something about that.
So there's nothing that we were, I was really going to oppose that until I just thought of something. Because I want people that are the right fit, whether they're sitting on the Conservation Commission or not. And not that it's Conservation Commission, I'm just using that as an example. But if we found the right person that was the conservation mouthpiece that we really thought was going to be a cheerleader, was going to do this, was going to do this, was going to do this, and we looked at the person that might have come forward from the Conservation Commission and didn't really do that piece of it, I think if we could look at it and say, we want to appoint not a chair, but, the leader of that particular piece, and 2 or 3 other people in the organization that are going to be recognized as a leader of that particular piece, maybe we get a, 2 or 3 person opportunity, just like somebody said before about, not having everybody there for every single meeting. If you identify 2 or 3 people in that particular focus, you've got to, again, you're broadcasting the message and you're pushing it out. And I know that it's still going to be 12 to 15, it's still going to be our 15-member piece, and that figurehead may be the person from the Conservation Commission, but their right-hand person is going to be the person that has got the ability to get out there and start recognizing people and bringing people to the table.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think also it might, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking it probably might be a good idea to have each of these committees elect a member and an alternate.
Yeah.
So that you're always going to have presence from each representative body at these meetings to the extent that you can do that. it'll increase the chances anyway.
Because you never know what life situation occurs when you get
Yeah,
to
sure.
January, February, March, or whenever the next one is, and then the next one, and then.
And then you're on vacation and you know, or.
Exactly, I
you know,
think it's smart
Kids
to
are
have
gonna
the
be out or
alternate.
doing something, yeah.
I think it's definitely smart to have the alternate. I don't, if I may, insert about the application process for the additional public 3. If we've already potentially identified, I think that the application process could delay the process if it's done through the website, so I would vote against that.
Okay.
That's just my, position.
But
on
again,
it.
if we look at it and say, 45 days, we're gonna make the decision, or whatever the number is, whatever the date, time piece of it is, I'd want to cast as big a net as I could. I'd wanna throw it out on social media. I'd wanna have people that are interested, that aren't willing to serve on committees and commit to the time, and again, maybe under the radar, to put a letter of interest together and send it. So I would disagree with you on that and think that there's more benefit to casting a wide net to see what's out there.
Skip the deadline, just keep it short.
But have it, sure, yeah, it's not gonna delay anything. It's, whatever the deadline is that we come up with, you're gonna have to have information together so we can review it, the 6 can review it, and then bring it back to the board for approval and submission. Again, we may have 3 people that are Conservation Commission, we're gonna recognize this person's gonna be the leader of this particular group and then 2 other alternates that work with it, or however we do it.
I'm totally confused.
No, Dina.
If you speak, then maybe I won't be confused.
Okay, I don't know if you might still be confused after I speak, but looking at these feeder groups here, there's a group that is blaringly not represented here, which would be the DEI, new Concordian group. So did I pick earlier, did you say that you're kind of thinking that these groups that exist, somebody in those groups would represent that? Is that
So
what you said?
I actually have the DIJB committee here.
Oh, is there
and
a
I sort
committee?
of cross-reference through the other committees to find people who would represent both. So there are people, say, I'm not gonna say names, but
No.
so somebody in Recreation and Parks, a couple people also are in the DIJB.
Okay.
So
they
that would
be
we could accomplish that, right? 2 birds, 1 stone. or
scientific
whatever.
terms like this. You know it.
I think the committees are also going to need guidelines when they're
Yeah.
selecting, right?
100%, yeah, 100%.
What we want, they can
And
select.
again, we've got people that serve in different capacities, and I know Council Todd is on the TPAC. We could look at things and fill 2 roles for one shot, and be able to expand it in another area. So we get a city council, or we get a planning board member and a TPAC member. That gives us an opportunity to have some, whatever, however we want to shake it around. If it doesn't particularly conform to the list, we can shake it around to make sure it stays in our 15. I don't want to go any higher than 15, so we need to figure out 15 people and kind of line it into that. Leon.
Recognizing that with a full board, I don't have a vote, but I'm going to plug in my thoughts on this anyway. I really support Councilor Todd's approach to having the selection of from the various
Boards and commissions.
Boards and commissions that have been identified versus having the planning board make that selection. If you take a look at what the role of this committee is, and I think that's important, the subcommittee, is in many ways their focus is going to be on the process more than trying to bring in new ideas and new initiatives, and that's going to come from those other meetings that Tim has spoken to. I mean, that. In addition to that, I guess is what when it talk about let's see if I can find it. Assist with coordinating and aligning the plan with ongoing and future initiatives. Who's going to be focused and up to speed on that beyond somebody who's already embedded in the community in these various boards and commissions. I really think that it would be nice to be able to have a plethora of candidates from across the community that we could make a selection and have veto power on, and if we did, but realistically, from an administration standpoint, it's not terribly workable. And I think that leaving those selections, a primary and an alternate, to the various boards and commissions that are identified, I think is the way to go. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay.
Now, obviously, the other three candidates, if we have that have been identified tonight, that would be different. But
Okay, thank you. Teresa, you still confused?
Totally.
Totally.
So if you're going to ask people to express interest and you're going to do that on the website, is that only for the 3 public spaces? Okay. And so you're doing it so the advisory committee, the only people really qualified or allowed on the advisory committee from those other things like Conservation Commission, Heritage Commission, et cetera, are members of those commissions?
Well, in theory, no, I don't think that's right. I think what we want is if we get a letter of intent from somebody that's a perfect fit for the energy and environment scenario, but
Yeah,
we.
but see, Tim's saying no,
No.
so that's why.
No.
Staff is saying no.
A second person, so again, yes, the person that's gonna lead the group, whatever they're the primary person, but if we get a good application, we can appoint that person as the alternate for any of those functions as well. So if we did do Councilor Todd's, which I think is what people are gravitating towards, is a member of the Conservation Commission is the Conservation Commission primary. If we get somebody's letter of intent or letter of interest, and they're a great fit for that, we could appoint them as the alternate.
Fit for the advisory board or fit for the working group that's working on conservation?
Fit for the advisory board as an alternate. That's the alternate.
For these 4 meetings?
It's getting too, is
I
it
think
getting
it's
too
gonna
heavy?
get crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that gets too heavy.
Because as
So
Leon
then,
said,
it's just advisory.
I mean, if we put some recommendations or some guidelines, like, for EDAC, send all of these committees, this is what the planning board is looking for, this is the charge,
The roles for the
right?
group.
And give us a
And
person.
we want, with eyes to people that maybe, in my opinion, people who are really good on these committees, but not necessarily the chairs,
Yeah.
maybe the chairs, but not necessarily, to give them an opportunity to
But
get
who's
involved.
appointing them?
And then we would, well, that's the problem, right?
You'd be basically,
Yeah, because
You'd be certifying
if
the
I'm the
decision.
chair, I might appoint myself.
Well, they could give us guidelines, give us your top three,
Three names. yeah.
right? Give us your top 2, right, or top 3, and then we can.
why
go
wouldn't
from
we let the
there.
committees do that? Why wouldn't we let the boards and commissions do that?
Yeah, so
They're the people that have the
the expertise.
Well, they are gonna do it.
expertise and also the incentive to find somebody who's going to be best positioned to bring forward that information that they want front and center and make a commitment to the time that's required. I don't think the planning board needs to make the decision in the case of the boards and commissions. I think you send that out to them and say, this is what we need. We need somebody who's willing to commit to satisfying that role.
Yeah, good.
I think we could certainly, and we'll, I think you're saying, we'll make the rules, like we'll do the guidelines, right? And one of the guidelines can be, we would like you to, Conservation Commission, we would like you to present to us your candidate for the primary,
Oh, primary,
and then you can have first and second or alternate.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that in addition to finding the, quote-unquote, right people, the other important element to my mind is having a full attendance at these meetings as much as possible.
Yeah.
And as was pointed out, people will have things that are going on in their lives and they may be out or vacation, and we might need to actually call on that second alternate.
Right.
So I think having they're going to be deciding who are their top 3 people that they would think would best represent the interests of that particular group, and they'll give us those names.
And do they need to be on that committee? Or could they be?
I would think that would be best, because those are the people who have got the vested interest in the.
And again,
I think it's critical, because if you appoint somebody, even if you feel that somebody outside of the committee better suits that role, and you're bypassing the committee and not getting the committee represented on there through
No,
their select candidate.
No, I'm saying the committee, I'm saying if the committee says, you know, me as chair, I'm the best person, and my alternate is this other person that sits on the committee, but we've got this other person that we want to put forward as well.
My only concern, to respond to Leon, is if you look at something like EDAC, you have the former mayor, you have a major developer who appears before us, you have an attorney who was here tonight, right? You have a city councilor, like you've got people that are already so involved in the city that doesn't provide a different voice. So if they select, you know, if they select the former
But the different
mayor,
voice
right?
isn't what we're looking for at this committee.
I agree with what you're saying, but the role of this committee isn't necessarily to bring that alternative voice to, but it's a process. I mean, and so we need people that are familiar with the process, and need people that are knowledgeable about what's going on currently, what's gone on in the past, and how we might go forward.
I'm not necessarily talking about an alternative voice either, because they're going to represent, you know, EDAC, right? That's what they're going to represent. So hopefully that's not an alternative voice to EDAC or conservation.
I guess I was hearing that we would have a process in place where we could choose somebody who wasn't on the committee, or that they could choose.
That's what Rich wants, but nobody else agrees with it.
No, I've given up that. I've given up that.
I agree with, but I'm not so sure I agree on the alternate. It's just the question is as the committee, what I'm hearing everybody say is you want somebody who's on the committee and who's inside the ballgame, and you don't want anybody from outside. And so what you're saying is if there's somebody really good who's out there that just hasn't been picked to be on one of these committees, that you'd like them to have the opportunity. What I'm hearing everybody else say is no.
Get them to the visioning sessions.
We want
get them
these
to the
people
public
who know
input
what's
sessions.
going on.
Exactly, that, I agree with what Tim's saying, because I want, if.
We want this committee to be able
Yeah,
to tell us.
Leon is correct in my mind in that the person that comes from these committees, inside the committees, have know what's been happening in the past, know what they're currently working on, and know the vision of that committee. And then, you know, so that's why I think it's absolutely correct that someone comes from there. And as Tim said, if there's someone outside of there, then get them to the meeting.
Public input stuff.
My concern with this, and I'm going to vote no, because my concern as a member of this community for 30-some years, I don't think this is representative of listening to anybody new in the community unless they show up at the meeting. And when we saw that meeting, whatever, a month ago, how many people came? 4. And so all of a sudden, it's this group, again, making all the decisions, deciding where the city's going. When, in fact, you've got a lot of young people out there, you've got a lot of diverse people, you've got a whole different population. When I sit in Halloween, you guys give Alban Street a hard time, but I do Halloween ice cream. And when I started doing ice cream in Halloween, it was all what was right here. And now it is such a diverse community that comes to my house. And some people who English is not their first language, and they're extraordinarily polite and nice and appreciative of what we do. That, to me, I've seen it just in the people coming Halloween. That's the bigger community. And it sounds to me like the only way we can get them to have their voice is they show up at, you know, the Capitol Center or whatever.
You are right insofar as the success or failure of the process, the success or failure of the adoption of a new master plan has got to reach out and get those people to. That's the
public input stuff.
That's what the public input piece is designed to do.
I understand that, but I understand there was public input when we were designing this in July, and 4 people came. I don't know why that is, and so the question is, we're counting on people saying, oh, I'm going to go do that, but we're not intentionally saying that members of this community who don't even know how to get on a committee, that they're not going to be included.
However, there are people on these committees that you're talking about.
I hope so.
Right, that's why I spent time going through and looking at LinkedIn and all these other things.
But some of those committees like EDAC, that's the old boys, except for 2
sure
people.
is.
But
Except for 2 people.
the difference with this process is that there will be marketing dollars spent to bring attention and awareness, and it's not just gonna be on our planning board. Go to our government website to see when the meeting is announced to be. There will be outreach to communities, and as we discussed before, there will be more than one language being able to
Oh, I
to
know
translate.
that.
So
I do know that.
I
But
think that
are we going to them? So are
So,
we going to go to these communities, and are we going to go
so there is, just to reiterate what the strategy is, there is the public visioning session on September 19th, which is a month away, which is a big lift for us to do, but I think I feel good about it. We'll do it.
Yeah, we're confident.
You're going to have 6 neighborhood visioning sessions after that are going to be after the holidays, next winter, probably into the spring. There are focus groups that we're going to be pulling together. So there's one for economic development, there's one for housing, there's one for new Americans or immigrants that are coming to Concord. And you still have one contractually that UTIL has in the contract that they owe us, which we're kind of saving for later, as the board might say, you know, there's a constituency that we really need to talk to, and let's organize a focus group. There will be a survey. The survey is going to be after the community visioning session. It will be translated into multiple languages, 3 of them, which we're narrowing down right now. So there are ways to engage with folks. Everything that Leon said about why the boards and commissions make sense, Councilor Todd's approach, having boards and commissions make nominations and make suggestions. I mean, the planning board's going to have to appoint them, so you're going to have to accept those nominations.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think there's a difference, though, between, to echo what Teresa's saying, I think there's a difference between having a community and a focused sort of listening session and finding some people on these committees and saying to them, we would like you to take a leadership role. Because even if it's about the process, it's about representation, and it's about saying to the greater Concord community, we want different faces, because we could fill these 15 seats with people who look just like me, right? And I don't want that, right? Because I don't represent the new Concord like I used to, I guess, right? When Tim and I were running around Concord High, it was a very different city. And I think by asking these people to step up and will you take a leadership role sends a very different message to the 2026 Concord community, right? That's just my opinion.
I just hope that we're not making this advisory subcommittee more than what it is and what it's supposed to do.
I agree. However, this is what the city will see that we picked, right? And so even if it doesn't have a lot, it's not going to write the plan, right? All of these things it's not going to do. It is going to be public facing as representing the planning board and helping the planning board in the process.
Do you get that same piece if it's an alternate spot? So if you had the chairs come from the committees and then an alternate was, again, assigned?
I can look at the chairs right now. And
Yeah. Councilor Todd.
Yeah, thank you. I guess my take on this is that, creating this new master plan is going to be a complicated process, just in terms of a technical standpoint. There's going to be a lot of technical, use the word again, information included in there. I'm not necessarily the expert on that, and I would want to defer to someone, again, I'll pick Conservation Commission, on Conservation Commission, who already has a large knowledge base about generally, not only what goes on in the commission, the kind of work they do, but just about that field in general. So I'm viewing that was probably the reason that we wanted to have representatives from each of these entities in the first place.
Right.
Was to make sure that those interests could be represented. Now, those committees could themselves, I suppose, have. They're gonna have two meetings each, right? Correct. So, but they could do outreach on their own. So in other words, they could hold it during their meeting, regular meetings or special meetings. They could hold just to review planning board items, and those could be invited to members of the public. So if there's members of the public out there that are really interested, I don't care about the master plan, but I really care about conservation. Right. I really care about, making sure that our lands are preserved in the right way. They could go to maybe that special meeting if the Conservation Commission were to do that. They'll have the ability to do that anyway. So I just kind of view this as we're just kind of fine tuning the information piece that we're going to get from the people that have the most knowledge. That's basically what it is.
I don't think it should be lost that the suggested subcommittees and commissions that have been identified, the reason that they're there is because they are components of the master plan.
Yeah.
They are each representing a section. So if we want to, it goes back to what is the role of this group? This group isn't necessarily a group that's going to be out there soliciting the public opinion. That's going to be the visioning sessions. That's going to be the meeting with the various interest groups. But these areas need to be, by definition of the master plan, by the statutory requirements of the master plan, need to be represented.
Eaton, we haven't heard from you on this.
What decisions do we need to make?
I was going to say, how do we move
six
this
planning
ball
board members.
how do we
Six
move
planning
this
board
ball
members.
forward?
Okay.
So if we have 6 planning board members, who's interested? I'm interested. Paige, David, Amanda, Matt, I see your hand. Okay, that gets us pretty close. Council Todd, okay.
If you want me to be in that role, and,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Okay, so again, Paige,
You're on 4 of these committees, I think, right?
No, I'm
Okay.
on transportation policy. That's the only one.
I know, I hear.
Don't try to get on any other committees.
This is my job, it's the mayor's job.
okay, so we got plenty of interest on the planning board side of it.
Okay.
To be able to.
I'll step in instead of him.
Do you have
He has a lot.
every ward represented? I mean, I think that's why the two of us let Amanda do it, because you've got 3 Ward 5s here.
Yeah, and are you Ward 10, Paige?
Oh, shoot.
Well, according to what I looked up.
Smith Street, yes.
Yeah, you're Ward 10.
Sorry.
So you're Ward 10.
Yeah.
I'm Ward 7.
I couldn't figure out what you were. Did I get it right?
You're in, well, you're in one now.
One,
Yeah,
right.
one.
What are
You're
you?
Ward
We're one
10,
together.
1 and
Oh,
1.
you're both Ward. Okay.
5.
Oh, you're a 5 too?
Yeah,
We
he
got
is.
4 5s?
I'm a 5.
Yeah,
You 5?
yeah.
So we have 4 5s?
So
Gosh,
the 3 I've got right now are Paige, Rich, and
What's
Dina.
Leon, are you Ward 2?
Matt Hicks,
Okay.
Amanda.
Well, so you've got 4 of us on Ward 5.
Yeah, we need to be careful there.
Yeah.
That's
I don't mind
5.
being the representative of 5 if you want me to be.
Quick question, when does this start?
September
I'm happy for you
19th.
to be it.
September 19th.
Well, there are no committee meetings
Yeah,
scheduled
nothing,
as of.
yeah, nothing formal yet.
The advisory subcommittee needs to be established. We need to know who the 15 are, and then but we're going to start, once we get through tonight, we'll be able to start working with you, Teal, in terms of finding a schedule and getting deadlines for submissions for the public members and whatnot.
6.
So I have 5 on my
What
list.
ward are you in?
What are your 5
Ward
lists
two.
off
I
again?
had Paige, Rich, Dina, Matt, and Amanda,
And Leon.
and Leon. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's 6. Okay.
You got 2 from Ward 1?
No,
Ward
Are
2.
you a no?
2 from
She's
10.
a-
I'll do it.
Tina's Ward 1, she's gonna.
Okay.
We got 2 from 10, that's the only one we doubled up. Or
Would
not?
you have anybody
Okay, so that
else
gets us,
want to
that
double
moves
up?
the
It gets
needle a
us
little
the-
bit.
the 6 again, just so we know?
Ward 5.
Paige, Rich, Dina, Matt Hicks, Amanda, Leon.
Amanda, thank you.
Why'd you use my last name and nobody else's?
Matt Hicks.
Because I have a Matt Walsh sitting over
Oh,
there.
he's not going to be on it.
Because my last
Who is
name
not a
is
member of the
Wall.
planning
No.
board. Okay. And then, so, with that said, are you looking for staff to send a letter to the boards and commissions that are listed in the memo?
The
To
other
say, hey, here's what the mission is of this particular committee, this is what this committee will do, it will not do. Please submit a name of a primary member and a name of an alternate member. Please, for
Do so
these
by-
4 meetings that will happen, please provide this by date X. And then the planning board can
Confirm them. in
confirm them at
September.
their future meeting.
I think I'd like to send that.
Yeah, it should be
be from
under,
you. Yeah.
it should be
Definitely should be
under your signature, and I can help you write the letter if you want me to do that.
Because it gives them the outlines of the dates in which they would be required to show up.
Right. Well,
Or,
It'll give you a general idea.
yeah.
it's going to be 4 meetings, so they're not going to
Because
have hard dates.
some of them don't really know that it's coming, kind kind of thing. So
but it
laying
would-
out the time
Ex-
requirement.
Explain the lift.
Yes.
Yeah,
We'll
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Explain the lift.
Two
Explain the
alternates.
lift.
Yeah,
One be.
I think,
I just think
I think one alternate's enough, and if there's a question where the committee knows that somebody's not going to be there, as a committee, they can assign somebody to fill.
Dates?
Okay.
What, those 4 meeting dates, do we have them?
No.
They have not been,
Have not been set.
not
September
been set
19th
yet.
is the only one that's
That's the
set.
only one, at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Man, I'll be there at 9:30.
Come with lettuce, please.
I'll bring the salad.
And not from Fox Farms.
Not from
Okay.
Fox Farms.
And then,
And we need a time frame on the,
then what would you like to do for, it sounds like three members of the public. It sounds like was what we were talking about. One for,
one with the housing focus.
when the housing, maybe a housing preference, a senior, and a youth, if that's what I understood to be.
What is youth and what is senior? That was a great question somebody
Yeah,
asked.
somebody asked that.
We'll see who we get for submissions and determine what that is.
Yeah, how are we gonna position that on the site too? That's a good
I
question.
think it's
So-
a reasonable goal. I don't know that we need to make that a specific
There is
requirement.
effort to do it, there's effort to. There's effort to notify it, there's effort to collect it, there's effort to create it on the website. It is not without effort and/or time spent by somebody and/or money spent by somebody as well. So I just wanted to lay that out there, because that is a consideration.
But do we call out specifically, we're looking for somebody in the senior, Jesus. The senior, it must be 10 o'clock, there goes the AC went off at 10 o'clock.
Not quite.
Do we specifically call out, we're looking for a younger member, we're looking for an older member, we're looking for someone in the housing space, or we put it out as a general feeler? I don't know. I don't know.
you could put it out just as a general feeler, weave in the
Seniors, youth encouraged to
Seniors.
apply.
exactly,
For example.
and then when you get to your list of applicants, you can select from that.
Perfect. I like that idea better than hanging it,
Specifically
saying
pulling it.
young people call, respond, or old people respond, elderly.
And can I make a suggestion on the third, which is what we're hoping for housing, and identifying that the person could potentially be the executive director of Concord Housing and Redevelopment Authority, and that person is also a Concord resident. So before we go ahead and advertise that third one, just ask that person directly, would they be interested in that opportunity?
Yeah. Do they have to be Concord residents?
No, but it just happens to be that they are.
They should be, I think.
It's lucky enough that
Yeah.
that executive director is both, so
Okay.
if that person is interested.
But again, on the committees, I don't know who do we have someone that's in Hopkinton, or, I mean,
I can only think of one board that has a non-resident.
okay.
I would suggest that somebody reach out to the chamber and ask whoever currently runs the Castle program, that if there's some youth who've gone through that Concord Student Leadership Program, that, and they particularly look for 11th and 12th graders,
Yep.
because they will have gone through the leadership program, they'll be more familiar
Okay.
with kind of what goes on in Concord, and see if there are any suggestions from that. And that, I think, includes Merrimack Valley.
It does.
It does.
Merrimack Valley, Brady, Concord, all of them.
Several areas, right.
Merrimack Valley, Brady, Capital area, yeah.
Emily might work with that.
Is she-
Okay.
is she that-
What else?
Is she that,
Concord
is she
residents.
that hell? Is she-
Is that it?
Do we have a deadline as to when we want that? That's all we need. I think that's all we need, right?
I think that's it, right?
I think so. Just to Tim's point, I guess, we can put something together on a website. We'll update the website, tell people how to
We'll make some
advertise.
social media outreach.
We'll give an email that people can send things to, which I think we're only looking for basically, are you looking for a letter of interest? And if they have a resume, or just a letter of interest,
Just a
explaining
letter
who
of
they
interest.
are and their background? Okay.
Just a letter of interest.
Okay, we can do that.
Do we tie it to the September 18th, 19th meeting and say, I mean, do we have to have those people?
No, you
So-
don't need them appointed by the 19th. The 19th set, it's happening, and the advisory committee doesn't need to be
So I'm just
involved.
thinking if there's an opportunity where if we said, in and available by then, we could even meet with them at the meeting if they wanted to come to the meeting and see what's available, or?
We could do that. I think it would be helpful to have a deadline that's before the planning board's regular September meeting.
16th.
Which is the 16th.
Okay.
For solicitations, unless you want to do it after the 19th.
I was thinking perhaps we put the deadline as the 16th, and then we make a decision by the board at the October
You
meeting.
can do that too. But just to,
We all good with that?
have some time to consider. And also, it's an opportunity for you to, in your own respective worlds and networks, encourage people to
show some interest.
to raise their hand and throw their hat in the ring.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
We all good with that?
Well, it'll be like 80% Ward 5.
Okay. So I'll work with Rich on the letter. I'll work with you on the verbiage that we're going to put on the website, and we'll go forward that way. Good.
Perfect.
All right. We appreciate your hard work. I know it's a tricky conversation to have. So good.
I'm glad that everybody's showing. I mean, it's not just, okay, yeah, just do it. Everybody's got opinions, and everybody's put a lot of effort into it already. Dina?
Make a motion to adjourn.
One thing, real quick. If we have so many Ward 5, if maybe we come down from 6 and maybe do 5, so that we can give an extra public person a spot.
There's only one person from
Only
Ward
one.
5.
There's
That's-
5
We got a
of us
bunch that
here,
didn't.
4 of us on here.
But only one is in the 6.
Yeah, only one.
I thought we had too many of one ward going into the advisory.
No,
No.
only one.
We have
That means we're all
selflessly
set.
stepped aside to
Everybody-
allow for diversity on the
Although-
committee.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
So we can have coffee, okay? You need to-
Staff's good for adjournment?
Listen.
If we have anything else, we appreciate your time.
Okay.
Coffee here and there.
All right, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We got a motion to adjourn by somebody else other than
Counselor
Matt.
Tubb, yes.
Stolen.
All those in favor?
He and I are doing it.
Opposed? That motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.